Chapter 22:14. Alright, the two of you, enter the small world. Evil Sword Master waved his hand and sent Kenfei Ryu and Mulins into the small world. Then, a wave of energy swept up Lu Ming and Dandan. In a flash, they appeared outside the castle. Then, Evil Sword Master brought Lu Ming and the rest to find Lu Hao and the rest. Lu Ming realized that when Evil Sword Master walked in this area, the seals of the top experts did not attack him. Lu Ming guessed that perhaps Evil Sword Master's cultivation level was high enough, or perhaps he had some secret technique that allowed him to avoid the attacks of the seals. When they saw Evil Sword Master, Lu Hao and the rest were shocked and bowed respectfully. Lu Ming immediately told them about the passageway. What? Lu Hao and the rest were shocked and they heard it. They knew that this was a huge matter that concerned the fate of the Heaven region. Let's leave this place immediately and inform the seniors in Two World City. Lu Hao and the rest agreed. They did not dare to delay and rushed out of the battlefield. Evil Sword Master brought Lu Ming and Dandan towards the passageway. Not long after, they approached the passageway and hid in the sky, watching from afar. There were many members of the evil god race circling around the void, moving around continuously. Beams of light shot into the void one after another. There were also members of the evil god tribe who formed huge hands and wanted to tear the void apart to reopen the passageway. The evil god tribe is setting up an array. They want to use the power of the array to reopen the passageway. Evil Sword Master transmitted his voice to Lu Ming and Dandan. Senior, what should we do? Lu Ming also transmitted his voice. When the experts from Two World City arrive, we'll kill them. There's no other way now. However, the heavenly emperors will not dare to come. At most, they will be peak great emperors. Although I have not recovered from my injuries, I'm still confident in dealing with great emperors. Evil Sword Master said as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Hearing this, Lu Ming's heart calmed down. Next, they waited quietly. A day later. He's here. Evil Sword Guest suddenly said. In the distance, a few figures flashed over. They were very secretive. If not for Evil Sword Guest's warning, Lu Ming and the rest would not have noticed them. Evil Sword Master's lips moved slightly as if he was sending a telepathic message. In the next moment, those figures headed towards Lu Ming and the rest. There were a total of 3 people, 2 old men and 1 middle-aged man. Their bodies were bathed in blood, and it was clear that they had gone through a great battle. Although the 3 of them had completely restrained their auras, Lu Ming could still feel that these 3 people were absolutely terrifying experts. Senior. When the 3 of them arrived, they cupped their fists at Evil Sword Master. Why is it only the 3 of you? Why didn't the others come for such a big event? Evil Sword Master frowned. Sigh, the others can't come. An elder sighed. His hair was disheveled, and his entire body was covered in blood. It was clear that he had experienced a bitter battle. What happened? Evil Sword Master asked. Lu Ming and Dandan's hearts were in their mouths. They had a bad premonition. A day ago, the evil god tribe suddenly sent out a large army to attack Two World City. They surrounded the outside of Two World City. Now, there's still a bitter battle in Two World City. Most of the experts are pinned down. Originally, there were more than 10 of us. We broke out of the encirclement and wanted to stop the evil god tribe from opening the passageway. However, there was a battle on the way. When we entered this battlefield, we were attacked by the expert seals. Out of the 10 of us, only the 3 of us made it here. After the elder finished speaking, he let out a long sigh. The 10 of them who broke out of the encirclement were all experts. Unfortunately, in order to come here, they had lost so many people. It was definitely a huge loss. However, in order to stop the evil god tribe, they had no choice. In order to open the passageway, the evil god tribe had sent a large number of experts here. Their losses were definitely shocking. It seems that the evil god tribe is well prepared. They are afraid that the experts of Two World City will discover them and come to stop them. Evil Sword Master's gaze was even colder. Now, we have no choice but to kill our way in. At this moment, the passageway in front of them shone brightly. The evil god tribe seemed to have set up a large array and started to activate it. Endless light condensed into something that looked like a huge spiral drill. It faced the void and seemed to be drilling a new passageway at the original location of the passageway. Rumble. The space trembled and collapsed continuously, revealing a pitch-black cave. There's no time to lose. Attack. The two of you, stay here. Evil Sword Master glanced at Lu Ming and Dandan. In a flash, he charged toward the experts of the evil god tribe. Evil Sword Master's speed was shocking. In a few flashes, he was close to the evil god tribe. Enemy attack. There were too many experts of the evil god tribe. The moment Evil Sword Master got close, the other party discovered him. Someone shouted. Swoosh. Evil Sword Master attacked. A long sword appeared in his hand. With a slash, sword light shook the sky. A powerful evil god tribe member was directly split into two and his soul was obliterated. So strong. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. That evil god tribe member was definitely a great emperor, but he was instantly killed by Evil Sword Master. Although Evil Sword Master had yet to recover from his injuries, his combat strength was still terrifying. This guy was many times stronger than he is now when he was at his peak. In the heaven domain, he's a peerless expert. Of course, compared to me, there's still a gap. Dandan said, not forgetting to boast. Kill. Evil Sword Master shouted. A terrifying aura exploded, and the heavens and earth were filled with an indescribable pressure. Evil Sword Master wore a grey robe and looked very old. However, when he attacked, he had a domineering aura. Evil chi surged from his body, and his sword light seemed to split the heavens and earth. Poof! Poof! Several experts of the evil god tribe were killed by Evil Sword Master. Break! Evil Sword Master shouted. A sword light slashed above the void. The void was directly split open, and countless runes appeared there. Then, those runes exploded. This was the array that the evil god tribe had set up. Evil Sword Master had cut a section of it. At the same time, the drill that was condensed by the array exploded with a bang and disappeared from the place. Kill him. The experts of the evil god tribe shouted. Their auras exploded, shaking the heavens and earth. So many great emperors. Lu Ming was shocked. There were too many great emperors in the evil god tribe. Most of them were extremely terrifying. Their auras were far stronger than the Han family Great Emperor and Great Emperor Wuxia that Lu Ming had met before. Many of them were definitely high-level Great Emperors. Some were even peak Great Emperors. With so many Great Emperors joining forces, it was too terrifying. However, Evil Sword Master was even stronger. With a metal sword in his hand, he charged into the evil god tribe. With a slash of his sword, an expert was killed. With a slash of his sword, blood splattered everywhere. The three experts from Two World City also made their move. Chapter 22:15. The three from Two World City are all peak Great Emperors. However, there are many peak Great Emperors in the evil god tribe. They can only hold back a portion of the forces and won't be of much use. Evil Swordsman is the key. Dandan sent a message to Lu Ming. Although his cultivation was not as strong as it was in the ancient era, he was still able to judge one's cultivation based on their aura. Surround and kill them. The experts from the evil god tribe roared. There were at least 4 or 5 of them who were as strong as the 3 from Two Worlds City. They surrounded evil swordsmen. According to Dandan, they were all peak great emperors. Evil swordsman's evil aura became denser as he fought with his opponents. Poof! After a few slashes, one of the peak great emperors was killed by evil swordsman. Although evil swordsman had not recovered from his injuries, his fighting strength was still terrifying. Kill! Evil swordsman roared as his sword light soared into the sky. The sword light was thousands of miles long and extremely terrifying. As he slashed out, the void shattered. Many of the weaker evil god tribe members were swept into the sword light and turned into ashes. Heavenly Emperor. It's the Heavenly Emperor. How can the Heavenly Emperor come here? Many of the evil god tribe members roared in anger and disbelief. Too many peerless experts had died in the past in this region and left behind their imprints. Once they sensed a powerful expert, those imprints would appear and kill the enemy. Especially the Heavenly Emperor. Once he came to this region, the imprints of the experts would sense it and they would even leave their original location to attack and kill the Heavenly Emperor. In the past, there were Heavenly Emperors who had come here, but they had all died. Of course, the terrifying Heavenly Emperors were an exception. Their strength was not weaker than those peerless experts when they were alive. With such strength, they were not afraid even when those experts were alive. Why would they be afraid when they were dead? However, evil swordsman's fighting strength was not that of a peerless expert. He was only an ordinary Heavenly Emperor. How could he come here? Swoosh! Swoosh! Evil swordsman slashed out continuously. Every time he slashed out, an evil god tribe member would die under his sword. At the same time, the void shattered and the array set up by the evil god tribe was destroyed. Heavenly Emperor weapons. Someone from the evil god tribe shouted. Wang! Wang! Several terrifying waves of energy spread out in succession. Then, a huge axe, a huge mountain, and a saber appeared in the sky. This was a Celestial Emperor weapon, a weapon controlled by the Celestial Emperor. Celestial Emperors themselves could not enter, but Celestial Emperors could bring their weapons in. When the Celestial Great Imperial weapons didn't awaken, those imprints couldn't be sensed. Besides, they were inanimate objects, so those imprints wouldn't have any reaction. Boom! 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 The 3 Celestial Emperor weapons were awakened and emitted a terrifying energy fluctuation. The energy of the heavenly way shot towards evil swordsmen. If the Celestial Emperor armament is not controlled by the Celestial Emperor, how much power can it unleash? I'll show you the true power of a Celestial the Arch weapon. Evil sword artist said coldly. The long sword in his hand let out a terrifying sword whistle. Clang! Sword cries filled the sky as several terrifying sword radiances shot out from evil sword master's hands. Dong! 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 3 terrifying collisions rang out. The 3 heavenly emperor armaments of the evil god race trembled violently and were sent flying. The 3 evil god race experts controlling the heavenly emperor armaments coughed up large mouthfuls of blood. Their bodies cracked and in the end, they directly exploded. Without a doubt, the long sword in evil sword artist's hand was also a celestial emperor weapon. Under his control, it was extremely powerful. You're courting death. At this moment, a roar could be heard from afar. An extremely terrifying aura was rushing towards them. Then, a huge demonic shadow appeared between heaven and earth. The demonic shadow was extremely huge, like a mountain. It stood between heaven and earth and was heading towards them. Old Ancestor. The evil god tribe members were overjoyed. This is, Lu Ming's eyes narrowed and he looked extremely solemn. When he had passed through the passage from the primordial realm, he had seen 4 huge demonic shadows fighting against the 9 divine 9 dragon cauldrons. This demonic shadow was extremely similar to one of the previous 4. Boom! The demonic shadow moved. It punched out and the void shattered. The huge fist was wrapped in void turbulence and headed towards Evil Sword Artist. At this moment, Evil Sword Artist's eyes were extremely solemn. The long sword in his hand vibrated continuously and his aura became stronger. Swoosh! In the end, Evil Sword Artist slashed out with his sword. A shocking sword light slashed towards the huge fist. When the sword light and the fist collided, there was an ear-piercing sound. Although they were still far away, Lu Ming felt a piercing pain in his eardrums. The blood in his body was boiling and he felt like his body was about to explode. Dandan also used his strength to resist. He was slightly better off than Lu Ming. Bam! Then, Evil Sword Artist's sword light shattered. The remaining strength of the fist blasted towards Evil Sword Artist, causing him to retreat frantically. Not good. Senior Evil Sword Artist is no match for him. Lu Ming's face turned ugly. That's the old ancestor of the evil god tribe. He's an unparalleled elite. However, he should be injured. His combat strength is far from his peak. Dandan said. Lu Ming knew that the old ancestor of the evil god tribe must have been injured when he fought with the divine nine-dragon cauldron and the huge true dragon in the sky. An ancient antique from the primordial era. Today, I'll send you on your way. The old ancestor of the evil god tribe spoke. His voice rumbled in the sky. His body started to shrink, and he became more than 3 meters tall. His speed increased greatly, and he instantly closed in on Evil Sword Artist. This was also a member of the evil god tribe with purple scales. He wasn't a member of the royal family, but a member of the evil god tribe. However, his cultivation had already reached a terrifying realm. His palm was like a knife as he slashed out a few times towards Evil Sword Artist. Evil Sword Artist fought with him, but he was no match for him. After a few moves, Evil Sword Artist trembled violently and was sent flying far away. A trace of blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Although the old ancestor of the evil god tribe was also injured, his injuries were far less severe than Evil Sword Artist's. In the primordial era, Evil Sword Artist had almost died in battle. He was only left with a wisp of his soul. After so many years, he still hadn't recovered. His combat strength was too far from his peak. Kill. The old ancestor of the evil god tribe had the upper hand, and his attacks were even more violent. You're just a junior. I'll fight with you. Blood flowed from Evil Sword Artist's mouth, but his eyes were exceptionally bright. At this moment, a layer of light shone on his body, burning fiercely like a flame. At the same time, Evil Sword Artist's aura surged wildly. Evil Sword Artist is going to go all out. Dandan said as he watched with rapt attention. Clang! Evil Sword Artist slashed out with his sword. A sword light that was several times more terrifying than before slashed towards the old ancestor of the evil god tribe. The old ancestor of the evil god tribe had a serious look on his face. A battle axe appeared in his hand, and he charged towards Evil Sword Artist. Clang! Clang! The two experts let out a terrifying explosion as they fought fiercely. For a moment it was difficult to determine the victor. The two of them charged into the sky and fought. Chapter 22:16. The intense battle continued, but the situation was getting worse for the heavenly domain. They had too few people. Dandan, can we only watch? Is there any way we can help? Lu Ming asked anxiously. Although he had the Heavenly Emperor's body, it only had about 10% of its energy. However, there were a lot of great emperors in the evil god tribe, and there was no lack of peak great emperors. In such a battle, the Heavenly Emperor's body was not very useful. He was afraid that if he controlled the Heavenly Emperor's body, its energy would be exhausted in a few moves. At that time, he could only wait for death. Our cultivation is too far away from theirs. We can't help at all. Dandan was also a little anxious. No matter how knowledgeable, resourceful, and crafty he was at his wits' end. Oh right. Suddenly, Lu Ming thought of something. His eyes lit up and he said, "Where is the divine nine-dragon cauldron? If there is the divine nine-dragon cauldron, we might be able to help." Lu Ming had refined 9 drops of 9-dragon blood essence and could control the divine nine-dragon cauldron. As long as he could find the divine nine-dragon cauldron, with Lu Ming's current cultivation, once he controlled it, its power would definitely be amazing. Dandan's eyes also lit up and he said, "Let's look around nearby." Immediately, the two of them restrained their auras and avoided the battlefield, searching nearby. Lu Ming's mind was highly focused as he sensed carefully. However, they did not dare to get close to the battlefield and could only search in the surrounding area. After searching for more than half a circle, they did not find anything. The two of them were not discouraged and continued to search. When the two of them came to the back of the passageway, Lu Ming suddenly felt something. He felt that the blood in his body was a little hot, and his circulation was changing faster. There is really a feeling. Lu Ming's eyes lit up as he looked around. It was a messy pile of rocks, piled up everywhere in a mess. These rocks are not natural. They were shattered. Could it be that the divine nine-dragon cauldron was underground? Blasted into the ground? Dandan guessed. The two of them rushed into the pile of rocks. Lu Ming's feeling became stronger and stronger. "Let me." Dandan's entire body glowed as it transformed into its original form, a gigantic tortoise. "I'll dig." The giant tortoise began to dig at the ground with its 4 limbs. Immediately, gravel flew everywhere, and a large area of soil was lifted up. Not long after, a piece of metal was exposed. "It's really the divine nine-dragon cauldron." Lu Ming was overjoyed. This piece of metal was the material of the divine nine-dragon cauldron. Lu Ming wouldn't be mistaken. Dandan also became excited and began to dig crazily. He used the power of laws, causing large amounts of soil to tremble and be sent flying. Lu Ming also helped. He converted the law of primal chaos into the law of earth to help excavate. Large chunks of soil loosened and flew out automatically. A divine nine-dragon cauldron appeared, followed by a second, a third. Soon, 9 mountain-sized nine-dragon cauldrons appeared in their vision. The 9 dragon veins are gone. No, they are on top of the dragon cauldron. Lu Ming looked around and found something different about the divine nine-dragon cauldron. The divine nine-dragon cauldron originally had a true dragon pattern engraved on it, but now, there was an additional pattern on it. This pattern was very similar to the dragon veins, vivid and lifelike. However, the divine nine-dragon cauldron didn't seem to have any energy fluctuations. It was like a piece of scrap metal. Lu Ming hugged a divine nine-dragon cauldron, but there was no reaction from it at all. What's going on? Why is there no reaction? Lu Ming was puzzled. It should be that its energy has been exhausted. Even the energy of the dragon veins has been exhausted. Dandan said, frowning and deep in thought. One could imagine that the previous battle was definitely tragic. Even the energy of the divine nine-dragon cauldron and the 9 dragon veins had been exhausted. However, the results of the battle were also shocking. The passage was destroyed, and the evil god tribe's patriarch was seriously injured. Lu Ming, you have refined the blood essence of the 9 dragons. Try it with your blood. Dandan suddenly said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. Blood seeped out of his palm on its own. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and his palm continuously smacked the divine nine-dragon cauldron, leaving a bloody handprint on each of the 9 cauldrons. Awaken! Lu Ming roared. The muscles on his body bulged, and all the blood energy in his body started to circulate crazily. Roar! A dragon roar came from Lu Ming's body, reverberating through the sky. This was the sound of the 9 dragons. There's someone over there. The dragon roar traveled very far and finally alarmed the evil god tribe. A few ants. I'll go and kill him. An evil god tribe member walked toward Lu Ming's side at an astonishing speed. This was the arch-evil god tribe member. Lu Ming, hurry up. Dandan was anxious. Awaken. Lu Ming roared. His blood energy surged, and dragon roars rang out. Buzz! 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 The divine 9 dragon cauldron finally reacted. The bloody handprint that Lu Ming left on the cauldron glowed and was then absorbed by the divine 9 dragon cauldron. The divine 9 dragon cauldron started to vibrate, and its aura became stronger and stronger. The divine 9 dragon cauldron started to awaken. Awaken! Lu Ming continued to roar. Above his head, the phantom of 9 dragons appeared, causing the divine 9 dragon cauldron to vibrate even more violently. At this moment, the evil god tribes the Arch had already arrived. Kill! The evil god tribes the Arch shouted coldly. A beam of destructive light shot out from his forehead, enveloping Lu Ming and Dandan within it. It's over. I'm finished. Dandan screamed miserably. Rise! Lu Ming roared. With a wave of his hand, the divine 9 dragon cauldron rushed out from the ground, blocking in front of him. Clang! The evil god tribe's Thearka's destructive light struck the divine 9 dragon cauldron, causing it to vibrate violently. That beam of destructive light was blocked. Suppress! Following which, Lu Ming pushed out with a single hand. The divine 9 dragon cauldron enlarged once more and smashed towards the evil god tribes the Arch. Ant-like thing dares to attack me? The evil god tribes the Arch roared coldly. Another beam of light shot out from his forehead, blasting towards the divine 9 dragon cauldron. But this time around, a dragon roar rang out from the divine 9 dragon cauldron. Its might was even stronger. With a tremor, it shattered the destructive light of the evil god tribes the Arch and continued to smash towards the evil god tribes the Arch. The evil god tribes Thearka's eyes narrowed. A battle axe appeared in his hand, and he chopped down at the divine 9 dragon cauldron. Clang! A deafening explosion rang out, reverberating through the skies. The divine 9 dragon cauldron was blocked. However, the evil god tribe's Thearka's body trembled violently. He couldn't help but retreat continuously, his face pale. What a strong might! Again! Lu Ming was overjoyed. With his current cultivation base, controlling the divine 9 dragon cauldron had indeed increased the might of the cauldron. However, perhaps this had something to do with the divine 9 dragon cauldron awakening earlier, causing its might to be even more shocking. Boom! The divine 9 dragon cauldron continued to smash towards the evil god tribes the Arch. At the same time, the auras of the other divine 9 dragon cauldrons were also getting stronger. Buzz! Chapter 22:17. The 2 divine 9 dragon cauldrons resonated with each other, and their power multiplied. Boom! The first cauldron pressed down. The evil god tribe Great Emperor's body shook violently, and he coughed out large mouthfuls of blood. The arm that held the battle axe cracked, and even the bones were broken. Boom! The second cauldron pressed down. The evil god tribe Great Emperor let out a miserable cry, and his body was torn into pieces. He had fallen. A great emperor, even though he should be a low-level great emperor, was killed by the continuous attacks of the 2 divine 9 dragon cauldrons. The divine 9 dragon cauldrons had awakened, and their power was terrifying. Damn it, go and kill them! In the distance, an evil god tribe member noticed this scene and immediately roared in anger. Swish! 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 At least 5 or 6 evil god tribe members charged towards Lu Ming and the others. Among them, there were even high-level great emperors. Come on, fully awaken. Lu Ming let out a long roar. Roar! Lu Ming's body glowed, and 9 dragons coiled around him. The 9 divine 9-dragon cauldrons vibrated, and dragon roars could be heard. The 9 dragon veins that coiled around the divine 9-dragon cauldrons seemed to have come to life. They emitted light, and they looked lifelike. Wang! 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 Next, the 9 divine 9-dragon cauldrons flew up and floated around Lu Ming and Dandan. One of them floated above their heads, and a ray of light shone down, enveloping the 2 of them. The other 8 floated around the 2 of them. At this moment, the evil god tribe members had also arrived. The 6 evil god tribe members were all great emperors, and there were even high-level great emperors. With so many great emperors joining forces, it was definitely terrifying. Kill! Lu Ming roared, and with a push of his hands, the 8 divine 9-dragon cauldrons flew out. They expanded continuously, filling the sky, and pressed down on the 6 evil god tribe members. Within the divine 9-dragon cauldrons, dragon roars could be heard. The 8 cauldrons were even bigger than the immemorial divine mountains, and they were filled with endless power. Bam! Bam! The divine 9-dragon cauldrons pressed down, and the low-level great emperor screamed in pain. His body exploded, and he died on the spot. As for the high-level great emperor, his body also cracked, and blood spurted out of his mouth. Wang! The 8 divine cauldrons trembled, and a terrifying energy burst out. The high-level evil god tribe great emperor's body exploded inch by inch, and he too died. The divine 9-dragon cauldrons contained. The divine 9-dragon cauldrons have awakened. Kill! Dandan was excited. Kill! He Lin shouted evil god. He controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldrons was. Evil was the evil ancestor. Evil sword artist had activated his origin energy, and his combat strength had increased tremendously. However, he could only fight to a draw with the evil god tribe patriarch. Although the 3 great emperors from 2 World City were peak great emperors, there were too many experts on the other side. At that moment, they were in a precarious situation. They were covered in blood and could die at any time. Right then, Lu Ming had arrived. Of the 9 cauldrons, 1 was used to protect him, while the other 8 were used to attack the evil god race. The 8 cauldrons covered the sky and covered the sun. A dragon vein appeared on each cauldron, emitting light as it roared toward the sky. The 8 cauldrons resonated with each other, and their power increased exponentially. Boom! Boom! The cauldrons pressed down, and the members of the evil god tribe exploded one by one. Those below the level of great emperor had no power to fight back. Even for great emperors, low-level great emperors below the level of 3-star great emperors, they couldn't fight back and were killed one after another. Even the high-level great emperors above 4 stars couldn't resist. They spurted out blood, and their bodies were on the verge of exploding. A single attack had killed many members of the evil god tribe. Dandan's eyes lit up as she exclaimed in delight. Kill him! The members of the evil god tribe roared. Some of the peak great emperors charged at Lu Ming and Dandan. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldrons and attacked. Dong! 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 The divine 9-dragon cauldrons clashed with the peak great emperors. In an instant, they had exchanged dozens of blows. The peak great emperors were forced to retreat, spurting out blood. Cracks appeared on his body. The divine 9-dragon cauldrons seemed to have awakened. Even the peak great emperors couldn't resist. Kill! The 3 peak great emperors of the 2 world city seized the opportunity to kill one of the enemy's peak great emperors. At the same time, Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldrons and attacked. With Lu Ming's help, they had the upper hand. The experts of the evil god tribe were being hunted down. In just a few minutes, more than 200 members of the evil god tribe were killed. There were dozens of great emperors. This was a shocking result. If this happened in the primordial realm, it would scare people to death. Although this was the battlefield between the Taiching sky domain and the foreign races, and most of the experts of the two worlds were gathered here. There were many great emperors and heavenly emperors. However, it was rare for dozens of great emperors to die at once. The great emperors of the evil god tribe were scared. They retreated when they saw Lu Ming. Go and help Senior Evil Sword Guest. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldrons and flew toward the battlefield of Evil Sword Guest and the evil god tribe ancestor. Suppress! Lu Ming shouted. He pushed with both hands and the 8 divine 9 dragon cauldrons flew out and suppressed the evil god tribe ancestor. 2 ants, you are courting death. The evil god tribe ancestor roared. Lu Ming had killed so many experts of the evil god tribe just now. His killing intent was extremely strong. Rays of light burst out from his third eye. It was the light of destruction. However, the light of destruction of the evil god tribe ancestor was not just a ray of light. It could transform into 3-eyed demonic beasts that were as big as mountains. They pounced on Lu Ming and collided with the divine 9 dragon cauldrons. Boom! Boom! Terrifying vibrations resounded through the sky. The void was disintegrating continuously as if it was returning to chaos. The 8 cauldrons were sent flying back. Lu Ming felt a terrifying force pressing on him, almost causing his body to explode. Lu Ming retreated quickly. His face was pale and his blood was boiling. What a terrifying force! Lu Ming finally understood that the evil god tribe ancestor was too strong. He could not be mentioned in the same breath as the great emperor. They were worlds apart. Although the patriarch of the evil god tribe was seriously injured and was in a fierce battle with the evil swordsman, the destructive light that was emitted from his third eye was able to repel the 9 dragon cauldron and almost injure Lu Ming. Dandan, let's enter the cauldron. Lu Ming said to Dandan. Dandan nodded. Then, the two of them flew into the cauldron above their heads. In the cauldron, the protective power was stronger. External forces would be blocked by the cauldron. Then, Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldron and let it fly out to meet with the other 8 cauldrons. The combined power of the 9 cauldrons was even more terrifying. The divine 9 dragon cauldron spun and attacked the evil god tribe ancestor. Boom! This time, it finally destroyed the demonic beasts formed by the light of destruction and attacked the evil god tribe ancestor's body. Clang! Chapter 22:18. Evil Swordsman's sword was stunning. It finally broke through the evil god tribe patriarch's attack and charged towards him. The cultivation method of the evil god tribe was not a system of laws. It was very similar to the immemorial system of the heaven domain. They cultivated a strange power that was very powerful. It was both offensive and defensive. At this moment it was slashed open by evil swordsman's sword light. A deep sword wound was left on the evil god tribe patriarch's body. Roar! The evil god tribe patriarch roared. A layer of purple light covered his body as he charged towards evil swordsman. At this moment, Lu Ming controlled the divine 9 dragon cauldron and charged over again. The divine 9 dragon cauldron resonated with each other and suppressed the evil god tribe patriarch together. The evil god tribe patriarch waved the weapon in his hand and attacked continuously. Boom! 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 The divine 9 dragon cauldron kept rumbling and was sent flying. However, evil swordsman's attack came again. The evil god tribe patriarch was already severely injured and his fighting strength was greatly reduced. Now that he was surrounded by Lu Ming and evil swordsmen, he was completely at a disadvantage. The rest of the evil god tribe were shocked. Even the evil god tribe patriarch was no match for them. Then how could they open the passage? As for the three experts from Two World City, they were overjoyed. Lu Ming could control the divine nine-dragon cauldron and unleash boundless fighting strength. It was a pleasant surprise. This gave them a chance to turn the tables. But at this moment, their faces changed drastically. Because in the distance, there were a few extremely terrifying auras that were spreading towards them. The few of them looked in one direction. There were three huge demonic figures that were heading towards them. The strength of their auras was not weaker than the evil god tribe patriarchs. The evil god tribe's peerless experts, and there are three of them at once. The three people from Two World City were pale, and despair was written all over their faces. In the Heavenly Emperor realm, there was a huge gap between each level. The gap between each level was huge. Only Heavenly Emperors who were 4-star Heavenly Emperors and above could be called peerless experts. Such people already stood at the peak of the world. They were at the top of the pyramid of all living beings and were unbelievably powerful. The reason why this ancient battlefield was so terrifying was that a group of peerless experts had fought in the past. After many experts died, they left behind an inextinguishable mark that was extremely terrifying. The evil god tribe patriarch. It wasn't hard to imagine just how powerful a peerless powerhouse was. Now, there were three of them. Inside the divine nine-dragon cauldron, Lu Ming and Dandan could also sense the situation outside. At this moment, their faces changed drastically. "It's them!" Lu Ming roared. Back then, when he crossed over from the primordial realm, he saw four incomparably huge demonic figures of the evil god tribe fighting a fierce battle with the divine nine-dragon cauldron. Clearly, it was these four people. The ancestors are here. The members of the evil god tribe were wild with joy. For the sake of seizing this passageway, the evil god race could be said to have made ample preparations. First, they sent a large army to attack Two World City, preventing the Heavenly Realm experts from diverting their attention to reinforce them. Then, they opened up this passageway. When the evil god race's army entered the primordial realm, the overall situation would be decided. Kill. In the distance, an ancestor of the evil god tribe roared. The void exploded unceasingly. The scene was extremely horrifying. Damn it! Evil sword artist roared. One ancestor of the evil god tribe was already hard enough to deal with, and now there were three more. He could sense that the ancestors of the evil god tribe were all injured. Their strength was not as strong as before, but it was still extremely shocking. The three demonic figures rushed over with extreme speed. Boom! But at this moment, the sky in the distance exploded violently. The void collapsed, and a huge hand stretched out from the dark void. The huge hand was incomparably huge, and it was filled with the might of the heavenly Tao. It blasted toward the three ancestors of the evil god tribe. Who is it? Imitating the ancestors of the evil god tribe, they roared and blasted out attacks toward the huge hand. Boom! That part of the void was directly smashed. It was as if the world had been destroyed and returned to chaos. Amidst the terrifying explosion, that huge hand exploded. But then, a figure appeared in that area. This figure was enveloped by divine light, and his appearance could not be seen clearly. One could only roughly feel that he was burly and filled with supreme majesty. Boom! That figure continued to attack. His hands continuously blasted out terrifying palm prints toward the three ancestors of the evil god tribe. It's a peerless expert of our heavenly realm. The three experts of Two World City were ecstatic. Finally, a peerless expert of the heavenly realm had rushed over. The ancestors of the evil god tribe were injured in the end. At this moment, the three of them were suppressed by a peerless expert of the heavenly realm. The three of them were extremely indignant and roared. If they were at their peak, they would not be weaker than the other party. It was a pity that they were injured and their strength was greatly reduced. That was why they were so sullen. The three of them were suppressed by the other party. You go and kill them. Leave this person to the two of us. At this moment, an evil god tribe ancestor roared. The light on his body became brighter and brighter. Two of the ancestors of the evil god tribe went all out. Ignoring their injuries, they forcefully raised their combat strength to the peak and charged toward the peerless expert of the heavenly realm. The three of them collided horribly and fought in the depths of the dark void. The remaining ancestor of the evil god tribe charged toward Lu Ming and the others. Die. The ancestor of the evil god tribe roared and stretched out a palm. His palm was suffused with terrifying light as he grabbed toward Lu Ming. Even though they were very far away, a terrifying pressure pressed down on the divine nine-dragon cauldron, causing it to buzz and vibrate. Kill. Lu Ming controlled the divine nine-dragon cauldron and attacked the other party. Boom. Boom. The divine nine-dragon cauldron collided with the other party's attack. It vibrated continuously and then was sent flying. Lu Ming and Dandan were hiding in a divine nine-dragon cauldron. At this moment, they were also violently shaken. Their blood and chi were boiling. Swoosh. The ancestor of the evil god tribe charged over. His incomparably huge body started to shrink and eventually became the size of an ordinary person. This ancestor of the evil god tribe was not much different from a human. He had a head of purple hair and was incomparably handsome. The only difference was that there was a third eye at the center of his brows. This was a royal member of the evil god tribe. The royal member of the evil god tribe was too strong. Even though he was injured, his combat strength was still very terrifying. His entire body was enveloped by a layer of purple light. The third eye at the center of his brows lit up. 9 sparkling and resplendent battle swords flew out and slashed toward the divine nine-dragon cauldron. Clang! Clang! The battle swords continuously slashed on the divine nine-dragon cauldron. Sparks flew everywhere and the cauldron vibrated continuously. Lu Ming and Dandan were hiding in that cauldron and were surrounded by 8 other cauldrons. But even so, the terrifying power of the other party still surged in, causing Lu Ming to vomit large mouthfuls of blood. Dandan's cultivation was slightly higher, so it was slightly better. The situation was not good for Lu Ming and the others. If this continued, they would be killed by the other party even with the divine nine-dragon cauldron. The main thing was that the difference in cultivation was too great. If Lu Ming had the cultivation of a true emperor, the situation would be much better. Awaken, divine nine-dragon cauldron. Chapter 22:19. In Lu Ming's body, his blood and qi surged like a river, and they were also like true dragons swimming around. Roar! Dragon roars rang out. The 9-dragon phantom around Lu Ming's body suddenly broke apart and rushed into Lu Ming's body. Then, 9 drops of blood essence flew out from Lu Ming's body. 9-dragon blood essence. Lu Ming didn't need to think to know that this was the 9-dragon blood essence. The 9-dragon blood essence that he had refined in his body actually flew out of his body. Suddenly, Lu Ming felt extremely weak. His physical strength was rapidly weakening. The 9 drops of 9-dragon blood essence shone and flew into the 9 divine nine-dragon cauldrons. Roar! Roar! At this moment, the 9 divine nine-dragon cauldrons let out a shocking dragon roar. At the same time, the 9 divine nine-dragon cauldrons actually started to merge. Such a change caused the expression of the evil god tribe's patriarch to change. He launched an even stronger attack. However, the divine 9 dragon cauldrons completed the merger amidst the tremors. The 9 cauldrons merged into one. Lu Ming and Dandan were still in the divine 9 dragon cauldrons. When the 9 cauldrons merged into one, their power increased greatly. They were even larger than mountains, filling the sky and suppressing the other party. Dong! Dong! The other party's battle sword continuously slashed at the divine 9 dragon cauldrons. However, when the 9 cauldrons merged into one, their power was indeed stronger. With a shake, the other party's battle sword shattered inch by inch. Kill! The divine 9 dragon cauldrons didn't stop, attacking the other party. Boom! The other party's palm struck the divine 9 dragon cauldrons. The cauldrons were fine, but the other party's body shook violently, and he was forced to retreat continuously. Kill, kill, kill. Lu Ming's killing intent surged. He took the opportunity to control the divine 9 dragon cauldrons and continuously attacked the other party. The attacks of the divine 9 dragon cauldrons were barbaric and direct. There was no technique, just crushing the other party. Kill, kill, kill this bastard. Dandan made a fuss. Boom! The evil god tribe's patriarch was sent flying again. He retreated continuously, his purple hair fluttering in the wind, and his eyes filled with rage. Ants! The evil god tribe's patriarch roared. He could feel the cultivation bases of Lu Ming and Dandan in the divine 9 dragon cauldron. In his eyes, they were no different from ants. But now, he was being suppressed by 2 ants. This made him furious. Amidst his enraged bellows, the body of the evil god tribe's old ancestor started to expand rapidly. In the end, he surpassed the mountain peak and pierced into the clouds, becoming even bigger than the divine 9 dragon cauldron. At the same time, the light on his body became even brighter, and his aura continued to rise. Not good, this guy is going all out. He doesn't care about his injuries and raises his strength to the peak. Dandan exclaimed. Boom! At this moment, the aura of the evil god tribe's old ancestor reached its peak. A beam of light shot out from the third eye, transforming into a gigantic sword that slashed towards the 9 dragon cauldron. The divine 9 dragon cauldron also emitted a layer of light that blasted toward the other party. Dong! A terrifying tremor rang out. That region completely exploded. The earth split apart, and the space was smashed into smithereens. They appeared in the dark void and continued to fight. The evil god tribe's old ancestor slammed out with his palm blotting out the skies as it slammed into the divine 9 dragon cauldron. The divine 9 dragon cauldron shook violently again. Next, the evil god tribe's old ancestor unleashed a torrential barrage of attacks. At this moment, the evil god tribe's old ancestor ignored his injuries and raised his strength to the peak. It was truly shocking. This was a true peerless expert, a figure that reigned supreme in the universe. He was simply too strong. At this moment, even if the divine 9 dragon cauldron were to merge into one, it would still be difficult to defeat the other party. Roar! Roar! The divine 9 dragon cauldron was suppressed, but the dragon roars continued, and they were getting louder and louder. Finally, a true dragon appeared above the divine 9 dragon cauldron. No, it was 9 dragons. A 9 dragon with 9 dragon claws under its abdomen. 9 dragons appeared. At the start, they were still illusory, but they became more and more real. In the end, they became lifelike, as if they were real. It was as if 9 dragons had come back to life. Nestle, the 9 dragons have appeared. No, this is the combination of his blood essence and the imprint of the divine 9 dragon cauldron. It's not a physical body. Dandan shouted. Roar! The 9 dragons roared. Their eyes were as resplendent as the sun. Their dragon claws stepped on the air, pouncing toward the evil god tribe's old ancestor. 9 dragons. The evil god tribe's old ancestor shouted. Fear flashed across his eyes. Although he was the old ancestor of the evil god tribe, he was not someone who had survived from the ancient era. He was born later and had never seen the 9 dragons. However, he had heard of the rumors about the 9 dragons. The top 10 battle beasts of the heaven domain were all peak experts. They were extremely terrifying. Back then, countless experts of the evil god tribe had died in their hands. There were experts among his ancestors who had died in the hands of the top 10 battle beasts. When he saw the 9 dragons appear, he was instinctively frightened. However, he immediately reacted. This was not a physical body, not the real 9 dragons. What did he have to be afraid of? He roared and charged toward the 9 dragons, fighting with them. After all, the 9 dragons were just 9 drops of blood essence and the imprint of the divine 9-dragon cauldron. Their strength was far from their peak. On the other hand, the evil god tribe's old ancestor had already raised his strength to his peak. The two sides fought, and it was difficult to determine the victor. Lu Ming, it's more important to completely destroy that passageway. Don't fight with the other party. At this moment, Evil Swordsman's voice sounded. That's right. Lu Ming nodded secretly and sent a message to Evil Swordsman. Senior, how can I completely destroy that passageway? You control the 9 dragons and let them attack that passageway. Turn the space there into nothingness and return to chaos. In that case, it will take at least 100 years for the passageway to reappear. This will buy us some time. Evil Swordsman said. All right. Lu Ming made up his mind and started to control the divine 9-dragon cauldron. Boom! The 9 dragons exchanged another blow with the other party. Then, they turned around and charged toward the original passageway. The divine 9-dragon cauldron was below the 9 dragons. Following the 9 dragons, it quickly moved toward the original passageway. You want to leave? Stay! The evil god tribe's old ancestor roared and chased after Lu Ming. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldron and moved very quickly. In the blink of an eye, he had arrived at the original passageway. Roar! The 9 dragons roared and stomped their claws. A terrifying attack blasted toward that location. The space in that area kept exploding and turning into the tiniest particles. Back then, although the passageway had collapsed and exploded, it hadn't exploded completely. From time to time, cracks in space would appear. In that case, it was still possible to open it with some powerful means. However, if it collapsed completely, it would be difficult to open it in a short period of time. The evil god tribe's old ancestor naturally knew what Lu Ming was going to do. He was instantly enraged and charged toward Lu Ming. However, at this moment, a dragon's roar came from the depths of the sky. A huge real dragon appeared and clawed at the evil god tribe's old ancestor. It's the real dragon. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. When he had passed through the passageway and just arrived in the heaven realm, he had seen the divine 9-dragon cauldron and the 9 dragon veins fighting against the evil god tribe's old ancestor. Chapter 22-20. Previously, Lu Ming hadn't seen that true dragon and thought that it had already fallen. But now, it seemed that it hadn't. This true dragon was fighting with the evil god race's ancestor, making it impossible for him to come over. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldron with all his might, allowing the 9 dragons to continuously bombard the space. Space kept exploding. Could this be the ancestral dragon? At this moment, Dandan looked at the incomparably huge true dragon in the sky, dumbfounded and incomparably shocked. Ancestral dragon? What is that? A senior? Lu Ming asked curiously. It was rare to see someone who could make Dandan so shocked. Lu Ming was very surprised. No, it's not the ancestral dragon. If it's really the ancestral dragon, he can kill this evil god race with just a breath. No, it's just a trace of his aura. Dandan didn't seem to have heard Lu Ming's words. He muttered to himself, still looking dazed. Lu Ming was shocked. How was it possible that he could kill this evil god race with just a breath? This evil god race was a peerless powerhouse, a heavenly emperor above 4 stars. Even a peak heavenly emperor wouldn't be able to kill him with just a breath. But a peak heavenly emperor already stood at the peak of this world. According to Lu Ming's understanding, a heavenly emperor was the limit of cultivation in this world, the true peak invincible. Could it be that there was an existence stronger than a peak heavenly emperor? Lu Ming thought that Dandan was bragging. He didn't think too much about it and controlled the 9 dragons with all his might, constantly bombarding the void. This was somewhat like kneading dough. If you didn't knead a ball of dough, there would be many cracks. Those balls of dough wouldn't completely fuse together. If you followed the cracks, you could separate the entire ball of dough. However, after continuous kneading and slapping, the dough would fuse together and those cracks would also disappear. Right now, this void, this passageway, was like this. It was like the dough before being kneaded. There were still cracks. The evil god race could follow these cracks and completely open the passageway. And Lu Ming's current bombardment was kneading the dough, wanting to completely fuse these spaces together and make the cracks disappear. Of course, this required astonishing strength. Even ordinary heavenly emperors would find it difficult to do so. At this moment, Lu Ming's 9 drops of 9 dragons' essence blood flew out, manifesting 9 dragons. Only with this kind of power could the passage completely collapse and the cracks disappear. The evil god race's old ancestor naturally knew what Lu Ming and the others were planning. However, one of them was blocked by the enormous true dragon, and was unable to break free from it. Dream on. The ancestor of the evil god tribe, who was fighting with evil sword artist, roared. The light on his body shone brightly. At this moment, he could no longer care about his injuries. He risked aggravating his injuries and unleashed all his strength. Boom! Evil Sword Master was sent flying with a single move. However, Evil Sword Master didn't retreat. He charged towards his opponent once again. He needed to give Lu Ming enough time. However, Evil Sword Artist was severely injured after all. He had almost died in the ancient war. Until now, his strength was far from fully recovered. He was no match for the evil god tribe patriarch and was sent flying again. Not good. Lu Ming was so anxious that he tried his best to control the divine 9-dragon cauldron. Not only did the 9 dragons attack the void, but the divine 9-dragon cauldron also shone brightly as it blasted towards the void. That space continued to explode, heal, and then explode again. Quick, quick! Lu Ming was anxious because Evil Sword Artist couldn't hold on any longer. If this continued, Evil Sword Artist would definitely die. Once Evil Sword Artist died, Mulan's and Kenfei Ryu, who were in Evil Sword Artist's small world, would definitely die too. Lu Ming had to make the best use of his time. Roar! The 9 dragons roared and their bodies shone brightly. Beams of light shot out from the 9 dragons' bodies. It was extremely dazzling. Boom! Finally, the 9 dragons' bodies exploded. This explosion formed a terrifying energy. The space in this area was completely annihilated, turning into nothingness and chaos. No! The evil god tribe patriarch roared. Ha ha ha, great! Evil Sword Artist laughed. He no longer tried to stop the other party. In a flash, he charged towards the 3 experts from Two World City. With a wave of his energy, he lifted them up and flew into the distance. Lu Ming, that's enough. Let's go. Evil Sword Artist's voice rang in Lu Ming's ears. Lu Ming controlled the divine 9-dragon cauldron and flew towards Evil Sword Artist. They met up and headed in the same direction. The two old ancestors of the evil god tribe joined forces and rushed towards that gigantic true dragon. That gigantic true dragon was no match for them, and its gigantic body began to crumble apart. Eventually, the entire body of the true dragon exploded, turning into a drop of fresh blood. With a flash, it disappeared from the area. A drop of blood. The two evil god tribe patriarchs were shocked. Then, they arrived at the original passageway. That stretch of void was rapidly healing. After it healed, there was no space left. It was exactly the same as the other regions. The tunnel had completely collapsed. Damn it! Kill those ants! The purple-haired patriarch of the evil god tribe roared and chased after Lu Ming, evil swordsman, and the rest. The other evil god tribe patriarch and the other evil god tribe patriarchs chased after evil sword artist. Lu Ming controlled the divine nine-dragon cauldron and flew with evil sword artist. But at this moment, Lu Ming felt weak. Buzz! The divine nine-dragon cauldron shook and shrunk rapidly. Lu Ming and Dandan flew out of the divine nine-dragon cauldron. Then, the divine nine-dragon cauldron split into 9 and flew into Lu Ming's glabella. At the same time, 9 drops of blood flew out of the divine nine-dragon cauldron and entered Lu Ming's body. Whoosh! At this moment, a red light flashed in the distance. A drop of blood pierced through the void and flew into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming was dumbfounded. He did not understand what was going on. But at this moment, he felt weak. Let's go. Evil sword artist waved his hand and swept Lu Ming and Dandan away. But evil sword artist had not recovered from his injuries. In order to stop the evil god tribe patriarch, he had worsened his injuries. Although he was fast, there was a limit to his speed. Behind them, 2 figures chased after them at an alarming speed. It was the 2 evil god tribe patriarchs. We're doomed. We're doomed. Dandan wailed. Now that evil sword artist was seriously injured and the divine nine-dragon cauldron had run out of energy, how were they going to deal with the 2 evil god tribe patriarchs? You cowardly tortoise. You're no different from before. Evil sword artist glanced at Dandan indifferently and said disdainfully. What did you say? You better show some respect. Do you know how to respect your juniors? You're my junior, do you understand? Dandan was pissed and glared at evil swordsman. Oh? Is that so? Then I can only keep you here first. Maybe I can delay them a little. Evil sword artist said indifferently. Dandan immediately withered. He forced a smile and looked at evil sword artist with a gentle face. Don't be like this. I was just joking with you. We're old friends. Calm down, calm down. Ha ha ha. At the side, Lu Ming despised him. The 3 experts from Two World City despised him too. Chapter 22-21. Evil swordsman didn't say anything else. He led the group and flew quickly. However, the 2 evil god tribe patriarchs were getting closer and closer. The distance between them was getting shorter and shorter. You will definitely die today. No, I won't let you die. I will extract your souls and make you suffer. One of the evil god tribe patriarchs said coldly. They were furious. They had finally found a passage to the primordial realm. As long as they could take it, they could send an army into the primordial realm. Then, it would be much easier to invade the Taiching sky domain. But now, everything was ruined. Even though that tunnel was an innate tunnel, and as time passed, that tunnel would automatically reveal itself and return to its original appearance, it would definitely take a long time for that to happen. Most importantly, their plan was ruined by a few juniors even though they were patriarchs. It was really embarrassing. Their killing intent was naturally strong. They kept closing the distance between them and Lu Ming. Dandan's face turned pale. Evil Swordsman was very calm. He used his own energy to envelop Lu Ming and the others and flew quickly. Suddenly, Evil Swordsman stopped flying. "Hey, why aren't you running?" Dandan's face turned even paler. "Wait for them," Evil Swordsman said lightly. The others were confused. The two evil god tribe patriarchs were also stunned. They didn't understand why Evil Swordsman suddenly stopped. However, they didn't stop and continued to chase. When they were about to reach Lu Ming and the others, a bright light suddenly shone in the sky. Many figures appeared in the sky. There were humans and divine beasts among these figures. There were huge divine foxes, great rocks with wingspans that covered the sky, and kirans covered in scales. There were more than 10 figures. Kill. Kill all the foreign races. These figures were filled with killing intent. They looked at the two evil god tribe patriarchs and attacked them. Lu Ming, Dandan, and the others were dumbfounded. Obviously, these figures were the imprints left behind by the peerless experts who had died in the primordial era. However, he did not expect that there would be more than a dozen of them here. Evil Sword Artist's eyes dimmed as if he was reminiscing about the past. He sighed. Back then, more than 10 experts died here. It was extremely tragic. These experts were unwilling to accept it, and before they died, they left behind an inextinguishable mark. Everyone shivered inwardly, and then sighed. Just how many powerhouses were buried in the ground beneath their feet? It was no wonder that Evil Sword Artist would run here. He knew that there were more than 10 experts' imprints gathered here. If the two ancestors of the evil god tribe were in their peak condition, these imprints would be useless against them. In fact, they wouldn't even be exposed. However, they are currently severely injured. Previously, they ignored their injuries and exerted their full strength, causing their battle prowess to be greatly reduced. These imprints will be of great use to them. Evil Sword Master said. That was indeed the case. At this moment, the two evil god tribe ancestors were besieged by the imprints of over 10 experts. For the time being, they couldn't charge out at all. Even though the battle prowess of these experts' imprints was far from what it was when they were alive, they were still extremely powerful. With more than a dozen of them working together, they completely surrounded the two evil god tribes' old ancestors. For the time being, it would be difficult for them to charge out. Let's go to the Two-World City. Evil Sword Artist said. In a flash, he led Lu Ming and the rest towards the Two-World City. Evil Sword Artist's speed was shocking. He seemed to be able to avoid the imprints of the experts and quickly left the ancient battlefield. The moment they left the ancient battlefield, they arrived at an even more vast region. This region was also a battlefield. There were potholes everywhere, and skeletons could be seen everywhere. The two worlds had fought on this battlefield for countless years. No one knew how many living beings had fallen on this battlefield. Evil Sword Artist's speed became even faster. In a flash, he had traveled thousands of miles. Soon, a huge city appeared in front of them. This, even though Lu Ming had seen many majestic ancient cities, he still gasped when he saw this huge city. The walls of the huge city were made of various extremely tough metals. Countless runes were flowing on them. The walls were shockingly tall. They reached into the clouds. At a glance, it was at least 100,000 feet tall. One could vaguely see soldiers walking on the walls. The width of the city walls was even more shocking. Lu Ming couldn't see the ends of the walls at all. The Two-World City was called the Two-World City because it separated the two worlds. The Two-World City completely separated the Taiqing Heaven Domain and the Hunyuan Heaven Domain, completely blocking the entrance to the Taiqing Heaven Domain. One could only imagine how wide the city walls were. A light barrier enveloped the outside of the city walls. It was a protective barrier formed by a great array. The two-world city was the reason why the Taiqing heaven domain hadn't been breached by the foreign races for so many years. It seems that the foreign races have retreated. One of the three experts from the two-world city spoke. His name was Song Tianlong. Countless foreign races had previously attacked the two-world city. Perhaps they had received news of the ancient battlefield and retreated. The group flew into the sky and reached the same height as the city walls. The soldiers on the city walls could already see them. "I am Song Tianlong. Open the array and let us in," Song Tianlong said. "Yes, Lord Song Tianlong. Open the array." A voice sounded from within the city walls. Soon, the light barrier outside the city walls squirmed, and a door that only allowed one person to pass through appeared. The group walked in separately. How spectacular! After entering the two-world city, they stood in the sky and gazed into the distance. Inside the walls of the two-world city was a boundless military camp, with various ancient structures soaring into the sky. Countless figures could be seen flying around the place. It was too spectacular. Everyone was injured earlier. "I'll arrange accommodations for you. Follow me," Song Tianlong said. The group followed him and flew into the distance. Soon, they arrived at a huge palace. Song Tianlong quickly arranged accommodations for them. In a courtyard. "Dandan, protect me," Lu Ming said to Dandan. He sat down cross-legged. Previously, the divine nine-dragon cauldron had flown into his forehead, and the 9 drops of blood had spread throughout his body. In addition, there was another drop of blood that had flown into his body. Lu Ming didn't have the time to take a closer look. First, Lu Ming checked his body. Previously, when the 9 drops of 9 dragons' blood essence flew out, he felt a sense of emptiness, and his physical strength was greatly weakened. However, not only had his physical strength recovered, but he was also full of energy. The injuries that he had suffered earlier had also completely healed. At the same time, he felt that the strength of his physical body was stronger than before. Could it be that the 9 drops of blood had flown into the divine 9-dragon cauldron and brought out some power, allowing my physical body to evolve and become stronger? Chapter 22-22. Lu Ming felt that his physical body was much stronger than before. With a slight movement, his muscles vibrated and a dragon's roar sounded. Lu Ming's blood seemed to have countless tiny 9 dragons jumping around. Lu Ming revealed a look of joy. This was a good thing. The stronger his physical body, the stronger his combat power, and the more vigorous his life force. Following that, Lu Ming's soul power sank into his sea of consciousness and observed the divine 9-dragon cauldron. The divine 9-dragon cauldron entered his sea of consciousness and floated there. The 9 cauldrons were dim and the patterns on them were dead silent as if they had lost their spirituality. Lu Ming appeared in his sea of consciousness and observed carefully. In the end, he tried to activate the divine 9-dragon cauldron, but there was no reaction at all. The divine 9-dragon cauldron seemed to have lost its spirituality. It seems that the battle this time has greatly damaged the divine 9-dragon cauldron. It has no energy left and can't be awakened or controlled. Lu Ming speculated. At the same time, he felt that it was a pity. If he could control the divine 9-dragon cauldron, he would become a top expert in the heaven realm. Unfortunately, no matter how hard Lu Ming tried, he could not awaken the divine 9-dragon cauldron. There was no movement at all. Thinking about it, the divine 9-dragon cauldron had gone through 2 battles in a row. Back when Lu Ming came, the divine 9-dragon cauldron had brought the 9 dragon veins and fought with the 4 peerless experts of the evil god tribe at their peak. In the end, the 4 ancestors of the evil god tribe were seriously injured. It was definitely due to the divine 9-dragon cauldron. As for the divine 9-dragon cauldron itself, it was blasted into the ground and almost lost its spirituality. It was Lu Ming who activated it with the blood essence of the 9 dragons and revived it. However, after the battle, the 9 dragons appeared, but the 9 dragons self-destructed in the end. The damage to the divine 9-dragon cauldron was extremely serious. It was not difficult to understand why it ended up like this. Can I take it out? Lu Ming thought. After many attempts, he was finally able to summon the divine 9-dragon cauldron from his sea of consciousness. However, he could not unleash its power. It was like a useless cauldron. Forget it. Lu Ming shook his head. He planned to study the divine 9-dragon cauldron when he had the chance in the future. That's right, there was another drop of blood that flew into my body. Just what kind of creature's blood was that? Where was it? Lu Ming thought of that mysterious drop of blood. Lu Ming was a little worried when a mysterious drop of blood flew into his body. He carefully searched his entire body. However, there was no trace of that drop of blood on his body. No, there's something wrong with his heart. In the end, Lu Ming discovered an abnormality in his heart. His soul power sank into his heart, and he found a drop of blood. This drop of blood was sparkling and translucent. There was actually a tiny true dragon swimming within it. Is this the blood of a true dragon? Could it be that true dragon? Lu Ming thought of the true dragon that fought against the evil god tribe in the ancient battlefield. Lu Ming wondered if that true dragon was injured and a drop of blood flew out and entered his body. Lu Ming's soul power approached this drop of blood and tried to control it. Roar! Suddenly, a dragon roar came from the drop of blood. This dragon roar was filled with boundless might and also had a feeling of great desolate antiquity. It was as if it came from an existence that had passed through time countless years ago, bringing with it a thick aura of time. Roar! The dragon roar rang out endlessly. That drop of blood actually moved, turning into a true dragon that reared its head and roared. Its eyes were like 2 suns. Lu Ming was shocked because he discovered that the true dragon that this drop of blood turned into was exactly the same as the true dragon that fought against the evil god tribe. At this moment, this true dragon's gaze was not looking at Lu Ming's soul power but in another direction, in the direction of Lu Ming's spine, which was also the direction of his 3rd bloodline. Kill! At this moment, the 3rd bloodline seemed to have some kind of resonance. A deafening roar came from the 3rd bloodline. This roar was filled with boundless killing intent, almost shattering Lu Ming's soul. Kill! Kill! Roars filled with killing intent rang out. That drop of blood from the 3rd bloodline seemed to have turned into a sea of blood. Waves of blood surged and endless killing intent surged. What's going on? At this moment, Lu Ming discovered that things had exceeded his expectations. He could not control the 3rd bloodline at all, nor could he control that drop of true dragon's blood. Kill! In the sea of blood, the battle cries grew louder and louder. The boundless blood turned into a human face. Then, it turned into a beast face and kept changing. At this moment, the boundless power in the sea of blood seemed to want to rush out and destroy Lu Ming's soul, causing Lu Ming to sink into endless killing intent and turn into a killing puppet. No! Lu Ming roared. His soul shone as he guarded his heart. However, the power emitted by the sea of blood grew stronger and stronger, and the killing intent surged. Roar! At this moment, that drop of true dragon's blood turned into a true dragon and roared at the sky. It emitted an ancient dragon might as if it was fighting against the 3rd bloodline. What's going on? Why is the bloodline suddenly going out of control? Could it be related to this drop of true dragon's blood? But why would the true dragon's blood cause the 3rd bloodline to mutate? It seems that this true dragon's blood and the 3rd bloodline are enemies. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind. He guarded his heart and did not let the boundless killing intent in the 3rd bloodline destroy him. Otherwise, he would really be reduced to a killing puppet forever. However, the power that emerged from the third bloodline was too strong, completely surpassing him. At this moment, outside, Dandan was curiously sizing up Lu Ming. He could not hear everything that was happening in Lu Ming's body, including that shocking dragon roar and terrifying battle cries. It seemed that only Lu Ming could hear it. The only abnormality was that Lu Ming's body was trembling constantly. His body was covered in a bloody light and his face was somewhat ferocious. What's wrong with this kid? Even a drop of ancestral dragon's blood shouldn't be like this, right? Dandan muttered to himself and walked around Lu Ming. He wanted to help Lu Ming but did not know how to do so. At this moment, Lu Ming's body had entered a critical stage. Lu Ming's soul power was shrouded in a layer of bloody aura. Boundless killing intent was constantly attacking Lu Ming's soul. Kill, kill, kill. Lu Ming's killing intent was getting stronger and stronger. It was as if he would only stop after slaughtering all living things in the world. Buzz. At this moment, there was another fluctuation coming from Lu Ming's spine. The prison-suppressing steel bloodline automatically emerged and became 10,000 feet tall, emitting endless light. Of course, all of this was Lu Ming's perception. The people outside could not see it. The words on the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline shone even brighter. Finally, 3 words appeared on the prison-suppressing steel and suppressed the third bloodline. Kill. The third bloodline surged with bloody waves and attacked the 3 words. Chapter 22-23. There were already 2 pieces of the suppressing hell steel. They emitted boundless light and contained boundless suppressive power as they pressed down on the sea of blood. In the sea of blood, the giant face kept changing into the faces of all kinds of living beings. At the same time, it kept roaring as if it was unwilling to give up. Roar. The true dragon formed by the drop of blood roared. It seemed to cooperate with the suppressing hell steel bloodline to suppress the third bloodline. Gradually, the waves of blood in the third bloodline became smaller and the killing intent faded. Finally, it turned back into a drop of blood and hid in Lu Ming's spine. Then, the suppressing hell steel bloodline's light disappeared and flew into Lu Ming's spine and disappeared. At this time, Lu Ming's body stopped trembling and the blood aura in his body disappeared. Roar. The true dragon formed by the drop of blood let out a loud roar and turned back into a drop of blood that rushed into Lu Ming's heart. Then, the drop of blood turned into tiny blood threads that swam through Lu Ming's blood vessels and seeped into Lu Ming's muscles and bones. Crack, crack, crack. Lu Ming's muscles began to wriggle and his bones vibrated. There was the sound of thunder and a dragon's roar. Lu Ming's physical body was being refined and strengthened. This feels great. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He could feel that his physical body was becoming stronger at a rapid speed. He could clearly feel the speed of his strengthening. After an unknown period of time, Lu Ming felt that his physical body had doubled. The drop of blood had also shrunk a little. It was only a little, about 1% smaller. At this time, the drop of blood no longer emitted blood threads. It calmed down and seemed to have become one with his heart. At this time, Lu Ming opened his eyes. As soon as he opened his eyes, he felt sticky all over. Those were the impurities that had been expelled from the depths of his body. With a thought, flames spread out from his body and burned the impurities clean. The strength of my physical body has doubled. My combat strength has also increased by a lot. A smile appeared on Lu Ming's face. He then saw a fair and tender face magnifying in front of Lu Ming's eyes. She scrutinized Lu Ming, looking left and right. Dandan, what are you looking at? Lu Ming curled his lips. Kid, you have a lot of secrets on you. Dandan's eyes rolled around and became more and more curious. By the way, I have a question. What blood is this? Lu Ming's consciousness sank into his heart. With a thought, the drop of blood appeared on Lu Ming's fingertip. Dandan's eyes widened as she stared at the drop of blood. Could this be the blood of the true dragon from before? Lu Ming said. Nonsense. Nonsense. Let me tell you, that true dragon from before was not a real true dragon. It was formed from this drop of blood. Dandan said. What? Lu Ming was shocked. The dragon that fought the evil god tribe's patriarch in the ancient battlefield was formed from this drop of blood. It was just a drop of blood, but it had such shocking strength? Surprised, right? Let me tell you, this isn't blood essence. It's just an ordinary drop of blood. If I'm not wrong, this should be an ordinary drop of blood from the ancestral dragon. Dandan said. His eyes were still staring at the drop of blood. Gradually, his eyes burned with greed. He couldn't wait to swallow the drop of blood. Lu Ming hurriedly kept the drop of blood and put it back into his heart. Ancestral dragon? What is the ancestral dragon? Lu Ming was even more curious because he had never heard of this name before. The ancestral dragon is a legend. Legend has it that it's the oldest dragon in the world, the ancestor of all dragons. It's the first true dragon in the Tian Yuan world. Dandan said leisurely. There seemed to be a hint of respect in his eyes. The ancestor of all dragons, the first true dragon. Lu Ming was also shocked. This was incredible. Could it be that the ancestral dragon is stronger than the 9 dragons? Lu Ming continued to ask. Nonsense. What are the 9 dragons? The 9 dragons are just a mutation of a true dragon. They are more talented than ordinary true dragons. That's why they have such achievements. However, compared to the ancestral dragon, they are nothing. Legend has it that the ancestral dragon is a truly invincible existence that transcends the heavenly Tao. In other words, even the heavenly Tao has to submit to him. How is this possible? The heavenly emperor controls the heavenly Tao and is the pinnacle of martial arts. He is on equal footing with the heavenly Tao. How can there be a living being that transcends the heavenly Tao? Lu Ming widened his eyes in disbelief. In his knowledge, the heavenly emperor was the limit. He was on equal footing with the heavenly Tao. There was no heavenly tribulation. He was immortal and lived as long as heaven and earth. However, there was actually a living being that transcended the heavenly Tao. This really broke his understanding. In the end, Lu Ming looked at Dandan and said suspiciously, "You aren't bluffing again, are you? Bluff your head. Who's bluffing you? Let me tell you, I was lucky enough to meet the ancestral dragon once, so I'm very familiar with his aura. I will never forget it in my life. The drop of blood you got is a drop of the ancestral dragon's blood. I guess it was left behind by the ancestral dragon to suppress that passage." Dandan said. No way. In that case, the ancestral dragon has an enemy? Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The ancestral dragon left a drop of blood to suppress that passage. Obviously, the ancestral dragon was on the heavenly realm side. However, he only left a drop of blood and his real body was not there. This meant that the ancestral dragon had an enemy. If it was really as Dandan said, that the ancestral dragon was as powerful as the ancestral dragon, then the situation was really serious. Could it be that there was also such a terrifying existence on the side of the foreign races? Dandan also frowned, and his face was solemn. He said, obviously, there is also an existence of that level among the foreign races. Otherwise, the heavenly realm would not have fallen to this point. Once the ancestral dragon appeared, even the heavenly emperor would find it difficult to defeat him. Unfortunately, I have never seen an existence of that level. Lu Ming sighed. The war between the 2 realms was more tragic than he had imagined. With his cultivation, he could not get involved at all. The difference was too great. Then, he collected his thoughts and said, how did the ancestral dragon's blood appear on my body? Is it related to the 9 dragons' blood essence? That's most likely the case. Kid, you're really lucky. Even I'm envious of you. Although this drop of blood is just an ordinary drop of blood from the ancestral dragon, and it was greatly damaged in the previous battle, it's still extraordinary. If you can refine it, the benefits it will bring to you will absolutely be amazing. I'm so envious of you, kid. What do you have? Dandan's eyes turned red as he spoke. He was really envious. He paced around Lu Ming, wishing he could take a bite out of Lu Ming. Lu Ming felt his scalp go numb. He scolded, "What are you looking at? Get lost." "Oh right, how many days have we been back?" Dandan licked his lips and said, "It has been 10 days. 10 days? So fast." Lu Ming muttered. He felt that only a short while had passed. He did not expect it to be 10 days. I wonder how Senior Evil Sword Artist is doing. Chapter 22-24. Evil Swordsman's courtyard was near Lu Ming and the rest. Senior Mullins. When Lu Ming walked into Evil Swordsman's courtyard, he saw Mullins practicing a set of swordsmanship alone in the courtyard. Mullins stopped practicing when she saw Lu Ming. She smiled brightly and said, "Lu Ming, have you recovered from your injuries? I went to see you 2 days ago, and you were still practicing." "I've fully recovered." Lu Ming smiled and teased her. "Senior sister, you've become prettier after so many years." "Is that so?" Mullins smiled brightly and sighed. "It's a pity that some people don't know how to appreciate it." "How can that be? Who doesn't know how to appreciate it? They must be blind." Lu Ming continued to smile, which made Mullins smile even brighter. "Oh right, where's Senior Evil Swordsman? How are his injuries?" Lu Ming asked. "You came at a bad time. Senior Evil Swordsman left yesterday with Kenfei Ryu and returned to the ancient battlefield." Mullins said. "Left?" Lu Ming was stunned. Senior Evil Swordsman said that he'd rather stay in the ancient battlefield. "It's more carefree," Mullins said. Lu Ming nodded. Perhaps Evil Swordsman had many comrades in the ancient battlefield. Countless people had died in the war back then, and many of his friends were buried there. How could he not feel pain? Senior Evil Swordsman also said that although the passageway has been completely destroyed, it will probably reappear in 100 years. Mullins said with a frown. On the other side of the passageway was Yuan continent, where her family and friends were. 100 years. 100 years later, the foreign tribes won't be able to cross. Lu Ming opened his eyes, revealing his strong confidence. "Oh right, senior sister, I'll be leaving soon. Come with us," Lu Ming said. "Sure." Mullins nodded. Now, she had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert. Her cultivation was already at the peak of quasi-emperor. It was only a matter of time before she confirmed her Dao and became a martial emperor. Once one became an emperor, as long as one passed the heavenly emperor tribulation, one would have a long lifespan. So now, she would no longer run away. She wanted to grasp her own happiness. The two of them went back to Lu Ming's courtyard and found Dandan. Not long after, they found Song Tianlong and bid him farewell before flying towards the east of Two Realms City. In the ancient era, Dandan knew a person who had grasped many laws before becoming a martial emperor. That person had researched for his entire life. In his later years, he had made a major breakthrough. He might be able to help Lu Ming find a way to become a martial emperor. Now, they were going to that person's family to find that method. That clan was located in the southern part of the Grand Clarity Heaven Domain. The Grand Pure Sky Domain could be said to be the Heaven Domain with the widest territory in the 9 Heavens Domain in the Heaven Domain. Its size was not inferior to the Yuanlu. Two Realms City was at the westernmost part of the Grand Pure Sky domain. Not long after, they flew out of the Two Realms City. What entered their eyes were vast mountains that towered into the clouds. There seemed to be no end to them. The origin chi in the heaven domain is indeed richer than the primordial realm. The laws are also clearer. Perhaps only the most powerful land in the 10 lands of the primordial realm, the divine fate land, can compare. Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Then, the three of them flew into the sky and flew into the distance. Dandan was very familiar with the heaven domain. They flew past mountains and there was a public teleportation area. They were going to take the teleportation array to the south of the Grand Pure Sky domain. Half a month later, they had arrived at the south of the Grand Pure Sky domain. They were flying in a remote area. At a glance, there was a boundless sea of bamboo. Whether it was the mountains or the plains, they were all covered with bamboo. There were all kinds of bamboo. Dandan, we've been looking for so many days. Did you lead us to the wrong place? Lu Ming asked. How is that possible? How could I lead you to the wrong place? The Gu family is in this area. They live in seclusion in a purple bamboo forest. If there are no major problems, they won't move. Dandan said. The three of them looked around, searching for the purple bamboo forest. Another half a day passed. Found it. Dandan shouted and flew forward. Lu Ming and Mulan followed behind. Soon, a sea of bamboo appeared in front of them. It was all purple bamboo. At a glance, it was a sea of purple. Even the leaves of the purple bamboo were purple. The bamboo poles were sparkling and translucent, as if they were carved out of purple jade. In the depths of the bamboo forest, they saw a very elegant palace dotted in the boundless purple sea. So many years have passed. They're still here. Let's go. Dandan smiled and flew toward the palace. However, they did not fly far before a few figures rushed out from the bamboo forest below and blocked them. There were a total of 3 people, a middle-aged man and 2 young men. They had one thing in common. They all wore jade crowns on their heads and wore snow-white robes. They looked very elegant. Gentlemen? This is the Gu family. May I know what business you have with the Gu family? The middle-aged man cupped his fists and said politely. We're here to look for someone, of course. Dandan said casually. Looking for someone? May I know who you're looking for? The middle-aged man asked. Gu Xingyue, Gu Xingxing, and the others are around. I'm here to look for them. Dandan said. His words caused the expressions of the 3 loners to change greatly, becoming somewhat unsightly. Little brother, the 2 people you're talking about are the patriarchs of the Gu family. Moreover, it's too disrespectful of you to call them by their names. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed with anger, but he suppressed it and said with some displeasure. What disrespect? They're just my juniors. If I don't call them by their names, what should I call them? Dandan pursed his lips. How dare you? I think you're here to pick a fight. Do you really think that the Gu family is easy to bully? One of the young men shouted angrily. At the same time, a long sword appeared in his hand, and sword chi soared into the sky. The middle-aged man's expression was also very ugly. How old did Dandan look? How dare he say that the 2 patriarchs of the Gu family were his juniors? He was obviously here to pick a fight and humiliate the Gu family. Nestle, I'll tell you the truth. These people are actually going to attack, Dandan shouted. Lu Ming was speechless. How can you talk like that? It would be strange if they weren't angry when you said that. At that moment, figures flew out from the depths of the bamboo forest. Obviously, the commotion here had alarmed the people of the Gu family. There were dozens of people in total. Some were old, and some were young, but they all had one thing in common. They were all dressed in snow-white robes regardless of gender. They looked very elegant. "What's going on?" an old man with a fluttering white beard asked. Before the people of the Gu family could answer, Dandan shouted first, "Get Gu Xingxing and Gu Xingyue to come out and see me. An old friend is here to see them." "How dare you? How dare you insult the ancestors of the Gu family?" Immediately, the people of the Gu family were enraged and roared. "What? Ancestors, are Gu Xingyue and Gu Xingxing dead? That can't be." Chapter 22-25. Lu Ming was speechless. How could this guy say anything? Sure enough, the Gu family's members were enraged. Even the old men were enraged, emitting terrifying auras. "Oh, Emperor, we're in big trouble this time because of Dandan." Lu Ming sensed that two of them were emitting Emperor auras. "Hey, what are you doing? The Gu family is known as the family of gentlemen. Every one of you calls yourself a gentleman. Are you trying to bully the weak with numbers?" Dandan shouted. That shout caused the eyes of the Gu clan's elders and middle-aged men to flicker, and they all retracted their auras. However, the flames of fury in their eyes were still burning. "How dare you insult our Gu family's ancestor? You must be taught a lesson. Otherwise, you'll think that our Gu family is easy to bully. Our Gu family won't bully the weak with numbers. Today, let me challenge you." A cold voice sounded, and then a young man stepped out. This young man wore a jade crown on his head and wore a long robe. He had sharp eyebrows and bright eyes, looking extremely handsome. Seeing this young man walking out, the Gu family's members didn't stop him. Instead, they were confident in this young man. "His cultivation is too weak. I'm not interested. Lu Ming, I'll leave him to you." Dandan waved his hand, showing no interest. This made the young man in white even angrier. "I'm Gu Yingzhong. Who wants to enlighten me?" The young man in white suppressed his anger and cupped his fists. "The members of the Gu family are all gentlemen," Lu Ming thought. On the way here, he had heard Dandan mention this Gu family. According to Dandan, the Gu family was a bunch of stubborn blockheads who didn't know how to be flexible. Now that he looked at it, it was indeed so. However, Dandan had a good relationship with the Gu family in the past. "I'm Lu Ming, please." Lu Ming stepped out and cupped his fists. "Be careful," Gu Yingzhong warned. Then, a sword chime sounded and a long sword appeared in Gu Yingzhong's hand. A brilliant sword ray slashed at Lu Ming. 3-star illusionary emperor. The moment Gu Yingzhong made a move, Lu Ming saw through Gu Yingzhong's cultivation. Boom! Lu Ming made his move. He was very direct as he struck out with his palm. He did not use any precepts in this attack. It was purely an explosion of his physical body and saint energy. Boom! Lu Ming's palm slammed into his opponent's sword light. The sword light trembled unceasingly, and the sword whistled unceasingly. In the end, the sword light collapsed, and Lu Ming's figure retreated dozens of meters. What a powerful fleshly body! Are you an ancient body cultivator? No, your power is holy power. You haven't become an emperor yet. At first, Gu Ying thought that Lu Ming was an archaic body cultivator, but then he realized that Lu Ming was using saint power. Once he became an emperor, his saint energy would transform into world energy. However, Lu Ming was still using saint energy, which meant that Lu Ming had not become an emperor yet. This greatly shocked Gu Ying. The rest of the Gu family were also shocked. He had not become an emperor yet, but he could take Gu Ying's attack. This kind of strength was shocking enough. After all, Gu Ying was the #1 genius of the Gu family. He was a rare figure in the Gu family. Use your full strength. You can't win against me like this, Lu Ming said. He knew that Gu Ying had not used his full strength at all. Just now, it was just a probing attack. You haven't become an emperor yet. Although your combat strength is amazing, you're no match for me. Gu Ying spoke again, full of confidence. I haven't fought with my full strength. How do you know? Lu Ming was also very confident. In that case, let's fight. Gu Ying revealed his fighting spirit. His long sword vibrated, and the sword whistled unceasingly. The power of precepts burst out, causing Gu Ying's sword qi to become even more shocking. Two types of precepts. One is the strongest precepts, and the other is the kingly precepts. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Swoosh! Gu Ying moved again. He became one with his sword, turned into a sword light, and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming grasped the void, and the sword of death condensed. At the same time, a long river of precepts appeared on his body. This time, it really shocked the Gu family. Oh my God, what did I just see? 4 types of precepts, he has mastered 4 types of precepts. He hasn't become an emperor yet, how can he master 4 types of precepts? Legend has it that my Gu family has an ancestor who was extremely talented. Before he became an emperor, he also mastered many types of precepts. There was a heated discussion among the Gu family. Gu Ying's eyes flickered, but his sword light did not stop, and he continued to attack Lu Ming. Whoosh! Lu Ming waved the sword of death and faced it head-on. Boom! The two collided, and an astonishing collision broke out. Sword qi wantonly, and many Gu family members were forced to retreat. After the two collided, their bodies shook and they retreated dozens of meters. The difference was that Lu Ming retreated a shorter distance. Second realm of the strongest law, this person is not weaker than Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, and the others. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. Gu Ying had 2 types of precepts, and his strongest one had already reached the second realm. Moreover, his cultivation was a 3-star illusionary emperor. There was no doubt that he was a top-notch sky pride. If it was before, Lu Ming's sword of death only contained 4 types of precepts, and he would not be a match for such a sky pride. However, Lu Ming's physical body was twice as strong as before because of the condensation of the ancestral dragon's blood. This also made Lu Ming's combat strength stronger. Therefore, Lu Ming only had to use 4 types of precepts to gain the upper hand now. Again. The battle intent in Gu Ying's eyes grew stronger, and his aura suddenly strengthened. 3 types of precepts. Lu Ming's eyes moved slightly, and a 3rd type of precepts appeared on Gu Ying's body. This was a type of precepts of the monarch Dao, and it seemed to have reached the second realm. This was a sky pride who was stronger than Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, and the others. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword light pierced through the air and charged towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming held the sword of death and charged towards his opponent. Clang! Clang! The two collided continuously in the air, and sword qi overflowed and the sword whistled for thousands of miles. Fortunately, the people of the Gu family took action. A layer of light screen blocked the purple bamboo forest below. Otherwise, the purple bamboo forest within thousands of miles would be destroyed by the sword qi. Both of them were very fast, and in the blink of an eye, they had exchanged hundreds of blows. Roar! The more they fought, the faster the blood qi in Lu Ming's body circulated. There was a dragon's roar in his body, and a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his skin. Lu Ming was also stunned. Back then, when his cultivation was still weak, dragon scales would appear on the surface of his skin because of the 9 dragons' bloodline. However, as his cultivation increased, he could already control the 9 dragons' bloodline as he wished, and dragon scales no longer appeared on his surface. But now, when he circulated his body to the extreme, a layer of dragon scales appeared on the surface of his body. Perhaps this has something to do with the ancestral dragon's blood. Lu Ming thought of the ancestral dragon's blood. Chapter 22-26. Lu Ming became more and more courageous as the battle went on. Even though Guing had used 3 types of laws, 2 of which were at the second realm, they were still blocked by Lu Ming. It was difficult for him to do anything to Lu Ming. Clang! Suddenly, Gu Ying's long sword buzzed, and the sword light became even brighter. This is the 4th level of law. This time, even Lu Ming was shocked. Guing had actually mastered the 4th type of law, which was also a kind of king law. But fortunately, it was not at the second realm, but only at the first realm. But this was no small matter. A 3-star illusionary emperor, and at such a young age, had already mastered 4 types of laws. 1 of the strongest types of law, 3 of the king laws. And among them, the strongest type of law and 1 of the king laws had reached the second realm, and the other 2 king laws were also at the first realm of perfection. This kind of talent was amazing. For example, Blue Cloud and Yan Shi, who were known as the top geniuses of the heaven domain, were about the same age as Guing, but they had only mastered 2 types of laws. I didn't expect that the Gu family would produce another top genius. Dandan whispered, and his eyes were also full of admiration. Many of the Gu family members also showed a proud look. Boom! Using the 4th type of law, although it was only at the first realm of perfection, it also increased Gu Ying's strength by a lot. This time, Lu Ming was sent flying by the impact. Lu Ming, I have to admit that your strength is indeed amazing, and it's the first time I've seen it in my life. Seeing that it's not easy for you to cultivate today's matter, you can leave. Guing said. Thank you. Lu Ming cupped his fists. Guing could indeed be called a gentleman, and this kind of bearing was not something that everyone had. However, Lu Ming's purpose of coming today had not been achieved, so how could he leave just like that? But, the battle between you and me is not over yet. Lu Ming smiled again. You haven't used your full strength yet? Gu Ying's eyes narrowed, and he said solemnly. Of course. Lu Ming smiled, and the color of the death sword in his hand became even more dazzling, and there were 2 more colors. They were the alchemy and equipment laws. 6 laws. Guing cried out in surprise, his eyes revealing a look of disbelief. The other members of the Gu family were also shocked. He had not even become a martial emperor, yet he could control 6 types of laws. This was simply unbelievable. Could it be that the legends were true? That one of their ancestors had controlled many kinds of laws before becoming an emperor? Originally, there were some people who were skeptical about the legend of their ancestor being able to control many kinds of laws before becoming a martial emperor. That was because such a thing was simply too inconceivable. Furthermore, such a long time had passed. Who knew if that legend was true or false? However, after seeing Lu Ming today, they knew that the legend was true. But their shock was not over yet. Because a hammer appeared in Lu Ming's left hand. Hammer of Chaos. It was composed of the law of primal chaos and 6 other laws. At this moment, the people from the Gu family were completely stunned. Even Guingzhong was the same. After a long while, they finally reacted. Heavens! Supreme laws of nature. 2 supreme laws of nature. A person who has not yet become an emperor not only controls many kinds of laws, but also 2 supreme laws of nature at the same time. How did he do it? Unbelievable, unbelievable. Whether it was the old or the young of the Gu family, they were all shocked beyond words. Controlling 2 supreme laws of nature had completely broken their understanding of the laws. Naturally, they were shocked. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, figures flew out from the depths of the purple bamboo forest. There were at least 100 of them, and a few of them exuded an astonishing cultivation base. They were all martial emperors. Lu Ming secretly sighed. The Heaven Realm was indeed the Heaven Realm. After countless years of inheritance, the experts were indeed astonishing. It was just the Gu family, but there were already 4 or 5 martial emperors. It was really hard to imagine. For example, there were not many martial emperors in the entire territory of the Primordial Mountain. In fact, it was not that the strength of the Primordial Realm was really so different from the Heaven Realm. There was a gap, but it would not be so ridiculous. The main reason was that many powerhouses of the Primordial Realm had left the Primordial Realm and came to the Heaven Realm to participate in the war and cultivate. For example, some of the overlord forces in the Divine Fate Land were also very powerful. Many powerhouses stayed there. Greetings, Patriarch. The people of the Gu family bowed one after another to a middle-aged elegant man. This person was the Patriarch of the Gu family. Alright, let's end this battle here. The Patriarch of the Gu family said. Yes. Guing nodded heavily, withdrew his aura, and took a few steps back. The Patriarch of the Gu family looked at Lu Ming, full of amazement, and said, I didn't expect that there would be such a person in this world. Before becoming an martial emperor, he has already mastered multiple laws, and even 2 supreme laws of nature. What a miracle! Patriarch Gu, you flatter me. It's a pity that it's difficult to become a martial emperor. Lu Ming sighed. Indeed, my Gu family's ancestor also had an amazing figure. Before becoming a martial emperor, he also mastered multiple laws of nature. In the end, he did not become a martial emperor. What a pity. You all came here because you heard the legend of my Gu family's ancestor, right? The Patriarch of the Gu family said. That's right, that's indeed the case. Lu Ming nodded. Since you have something to ask of us, why are you insulting my Gu family's ancestor? What is the meaning of this? An elder of the Gu family walked out, still looking a little indignant. The Patriarch of the Gu family also looked at Dandan. What insult? What do you juniors know? I already know Gu Xingyue, Gu Xingxing, and the others. Gu Lingtian, who has mastered multiple laws before becoming a martial emperor, is also my good friend. Dandan said casually. You dare? The people of the Gu family were furious. The Patriarch of the Gu family raised his hand, and the people of the Gu family quieted down. May I ask, who are you? The Patriarch of the Gu family asked. Then you'll have to see clearly. Dandan curled his lips. His body suddenly changed, and he transformed into his original form. Then, his body rapidly expanded into an incomparably huge tortoise, floating in the sky. This is the legendary top 10 battle beasts, the world divine tortoise. Someone exclaimed in shock. Everyone of the Gu family widened their eyes. The top 10 battle beasts had become legends by now, and they had long been forgotten. In the ancient war, the top 10 battle beasts were either dead or injured. They had long disappeared without a trace. Many people speculated that the top 10 battle beasts might have all died in battle. They did not expect that one of the top 10 battle beasts, the world divine tortoise, would actually appear here. You are the legendary senior tortoise? The Patriarch of the Gu family was the first to react. Of course, it's me, the old man. The giant tortoise said, and then quickly shrank, turning into a little Taoist priest. Senior tortoise, what's with your cultivation? The Patriarch of the Gu family asked, his attitude became respectful. Chapter 22-27. Sigh, it's all because of the battle back then. I almost died. If it weren't for my peerless strength, you wouldn't be able to see me now. Dandan sighed at first, but he soon became energetic and said, who's the oldest in the Gu family now? The oldest in the Gu family now is the son of ancestor Ling Tian, ancestor Gu Xinghui. Gu Xinghui, so it's that little brat. Ask him to come see me. Dandan said casually, acting like a senior expert. The eyelids of the other members of the Gu family twitched, and their faces were a little ugly. Gu Xinghui was the current ancestor of the Gu family. He had lived for a long time since ancient times, but now he was called a little brat by Dandan. What were they? However, when they remembered that he was the world turtle from back then, they understood. The top 10 battle beasts from back then were all peak powerhouses, and they had lived for a long time. Senior Turtle, please wait for a moment. I'll report to the ancestor. The Gu family leader cupped his fists and then went to the palace in the depths of the Gu family. Lu Ming and the others didn't have to wait for long before they saw the Gu family leader and an old man with a head of white hair flying over. The old man had a ruddy face and white hair. He was in high spirits and his eyes were extremely bright. The Gu family leader followed behind the old man with a respectful expression. Greetings, ancestor. The members of the Gu family bowed to the old man at the same time. Needless to say, this was the oldest ancestor of the Gu family, Gu Xinghui. No need to be so polite. Gu Xinghui waved his hand and glanced at Dandan. His spiritual consciousness spread out and sensed Dandan's aura. He showed a hint of joy on his face and said, Senior Turtle, it's really you. Ha ha ha, isn't it me? Little brat, I haven't seen you for many years and you've become so old. Ha, I'm still young. Dandan laughed. Senior Turtle, I just heard that there's a little brother who has mastered many kinds of laws before becoming an emperor. He has even mastered 2 supreme laws. Are you here for the method left behind by my father? Gu Xinghui asked straightforwardly. That's right. I've heard that Gu Lingtian has been researching for his entire life, and before his time was up, he made great progress. That's why I'm here to see what he's come up with. Dandan said. Gu Xinghui looked at Lu Ming in surprise. He had lived for a very long time. When he heard that someone had mastered multiple kinds of laws before achieving the martial monarch realm, including 2 of the strongest laws, even his heart could not help but tremble. He could not help but feel curious. Little brother, can you reveal your nomological laws to this old man? Gu Xinghui said. All right. Lu Ming nodded. With a thought, the 7 types of laws appeared one after another. Gu Xinghui's eyes were bright as he sighed, a miracle, a miracle. After a while, he said, back then, father did indeed make a great breakthrough. He once said that he finally found the method to become a monarch. Unfortunately, he couldn't do it himself, and could only leave it for the fated ones. Lu Ming's eyes lit up, and his heart could not help but beat faster. Gu Xinghui's words were obviously saying that Gu Lingtian had really found the method back then. Huh, Gu Lingtian is indeed a rare hero. I didn't expect him to really find the method. It's a pity for him. If he wasn't so ambitious, his achievements wouldn't be much weaker than mine. Dandan sighed. It was rare to see such an exaggerated person. Gu Xinghui's eyes were also a little sad. Senior Turtle, come with me. Gu Xinghui said. Then, he made a gesture of invitation and walked towards the depths of the Gu family. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mullins followed. The rest of the Gu family also dispersed. Lu Ming and the other 2 followed Gu Xinghui. They flew past a large number of palaces and came to a quiet place. It was very quiet here. There was only a small house made of purple bamboo. It was quiet and elegant. Outside the house, there was a small courtyard. There was a stone table and a few stone benches on the side. Senior Turtle, take a seat. I'll be back soon. Gu Xinghui said. Then, he walked into the bamboo house. After a while, he took out a bronze box and walked out. This is left behind by father. Gu Xinghui said. Then, he opened the bronze box. A jade box appeared inside. My father placed his lifetime of research into this jade box. However, no one has been able to open this jade box since my father passed away. There is a formation placed on top of it. If one tries to forcefully open it, this jade box, including the things inside, will be turned into ashes. Gu Xinghui said. It can't be opened? That can't be. Dandan was speechless. Lu Ming's heart also sank. Yes, but I guess that father wanted to leave it to a fated person like little brother Lu Ming who has mastered many laws before becoming an emperor. Little brother Lu Ming, you can take a look. Perhaps you can open it. Gu Xinghui handed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and carefully studied it. The jade box was covered with fine runes. Lu Ming looked at it for a long time, but he didn't find anything. Let me see. Dandan shouted. Lu Ming handed the jade box to Dandan. Dandan studied it carefully. He was an expert in formations. Sure enough, he made a big discovery. His eyes lit up and he said, no wonder no one can open it. It turns out that such a condition is required. Huh? Dandan, you can see it? Lu Ming asked. Of course, don't you know who I am? I'm the leader of the top 10 beasts, the world turtle. There's no formation that I can't see. If you want to open this jade box, you need to meet 2 conditions. First, you need to use sacred power. Second, you need to use 5 laws at the same time, but it's not specified which 5 laws. If these 2 conditions are separated, it's very simple. However, when combined, it's very harsh because both conditions need to be fulfilled by the same person. Dandan explained. They were stunned for a moment, then they immediately reacted. The condition was obvious. It required a person who hadn't become an emperor yet to master 5 laws at the same time. This was what Gu Lingtian had left for people like him. Lu Ming, give it a try. Dandan handed the jade box to Lu Ming. Lu Ming took it and followed Dandan's instructions. He circulated his sacred power and controlled the 5 laws at the same time, shrouding them on the jade box. Buzz! The jade box began to move. It began to emit light, and the runes on it flowed. Finally, with a click, the jade box opened. There was a jade token in the jade box. It's open. Gu Xinghui was also very excited. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulans were also very excited. Lu Ming, quickly take a look. Is there a way for you to successfully prove your Tao and become an emperor? Dandan said excitedly. Lu Ming took a deep breath, took out the jade token, and sank his spiritual consciousness into it. My life is Gu Lingtian. Immediately, a voice rang in Lu Ming's mind. Chapter 22-28. Lu Ming learned about Gu Lingtian's life from the jade token. Gu Lingtian was a peerless genius. He was the most dazzling star in the heaven realm during that era. However, Gu Lingtian's ambition was higher than the sky. He wanted to walk a different path, a path that no one had walked before. Before he became a martial emperor, he relied on his terrifying talent to cultivate several types of laws. He wanted to use these laws to create a small world when he became a martial emperor. Unfortunately, in the end, he was unable to complete this path. He was blocked, and this block lasted for an entire lifetime. Gu Lingtian spent his entire life researching. Finally, in his later years, he found a way. Before he became a martial emperor, he had already mastered many types of laws. If he wanted to become a martial emperor, he had to maintain balance. This was because it was too difficult to condense the heart of the realm when one became a martial emperor. The laws would collide with each other and burst out with terrifying force that could tear the martial emperor's saint heart and body. That was why it was difficult to become a martial emperor. However, as long as the laws reached a balance, they wouldn't burst out with tearing force. Then, one would be able to successfully evolve the heart of the realm and become a martial emperor. However, it was difficult to achieve a balance with many laws. In this aspect, not being a martial emperor gave one an advantage. That was because an Elysian child controlled one of the strongest laws. If you controlled other laws, it would be very difficult for you to achieve a balance. According to Gu Lingtian's speculation, a martial emperor could achieve a balance with 3, 6, or 9 martial emperor laws and become a martial emperor. However, before becoming a martial emperor, those who had the ability and talent to control many types of laws were all martial emperors. They were all martial emperors. No matter how many laws were combined, it was difficult to achieve a balance with one supreme law. Because the supreme law was too powerful, it was difficult for other laws to maintain a balance with it. Gu Lingtian speculated that if a person could control 3 supreme laws and 6 martial emperor laws, they would be able to maintain a balance and successfully evolve the heart of the realm. Or, if a person could control 6 or 9 supreme laws, they would also be able to evolve the heart of the realm. 3 supreme laws and 6 martial emperor laws. I can do it. Lu Ming's eyes lit up. He was overwhelmed by ecstasy. Currently, he had already grasped 2 supreme laws and 5 monarch laws. He was completely capable of comprehending 1 more supreme law and 1 more monarch law. Gu Lingtian also mentioned that the rules had to be on the same level in order to maintain a balance. For example, if one of the laws had reached the second realm while the others were all at the first realm, that would not do either. Lu Ming secretly rejoiced that he had yet to reach the second realm of laws. He would be able to achieve the martial monarch realm once he mastered the first level of the martial monarch realm. Lu Ming's words delighted Dandan and Mullins. Lu Ming, quick, let me take a look. Dandan shouted. Lu Ming handed the jade tablet to Dandan. Dandan immediately looked at it. After reading it, Dandan fell silent. Then, he handed the jade tablet to Gu Xinghui. After that, Mullins also took a look at it. What a pity. Gu Lingtian is indeed amazing. In the end, he managed to grasp 1 supreme law and 8 monarch laws. However, he still could not achieve a balance and could not become a martial monarch. Dandan sighed. Gu Xinghui's eyes were filled with sadness. The method that father recorded might seem simple, but it's actually extremely difficult to achieve. It's impossible for anyone to control multiple laws before becoming a martial monarch. Only someone with the talent of the Elysian child would be able to do it. However, it is difficult for a person to master more than 2 supreme laws at the same time. Therefore, almost no one can achieve this condition. In my opinion, father's method is completely tailor-made for brother Lu Ming. Gu Xinghui sighed. That's right. Dandan also sighed. Mullins was also happy for Lu Ming. Brother Lu Ming, I hope that you can become a martial monarch. This way, you will have fulfilled father's last wish. Gu Xinghui said. Definitely. Lu Ming was extremely determined. How about this? I will bring you to a place. It will help you comprehend many laws and become a martial monarch as soon as possible. Gu Xinghui said. Then, Gu Xinghui stepped into the air and left. Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mullins followed. They went deeper into the purple bamboo forest. Not long after, they came in front of a huge ancient tree. This ancient tree was hundreds of meters tall. It was as thick as a dozen people hugging it. Gu Xinghui waved his hand, and a light door appeared on the ancient tree. It turns out that there is a small world hidden here. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It was obvious that the light door on the ancient tree was the entrance to a small world. Gu Xinghui entered the light door. Lu Ming and the others also entered one by one. As soon as they entered the light door, they came to another world. The laws here are so clear. It gives me a refreshing feeling, and my heart feels empty. As soon as they entered this small world, Lu Ming and the others felt something unusual. Especially Lu Ming, he felt like he was sitting under the tree of enlightenment and cultivating. Follow me. Gu Xinghui smiled and stepped into the air. After flying for a long distance, they came to a mountain range. However, this mountain range was barren. There was no vegetation at all. There was only a giant tree in the middle of the mountain range. That's the tree of enlightenment. Looking at that giant tree, Lu Ming was dumbfounded. Yes, there was indeed a tree of enlightenment here. Although the species was different from Lu Ming's, it was indeed the tree of enlightenment. And this tree of enlightenment was completely incomparable to Lu Ming's. Lu Ming's tree of enlightenment had been cultivated until now. It had taken root on a mountain peak in the mountain river diagram and was more than 30 meters tall. However, the one in front of them was at least 1,000 meters tall. The ancient tree towered into the sky, and the great Tao surrounded the branches. Everyone felt that their hearts were empty and their minds were incomparably clear. The effect was many times better than Lu Ming's. Great, your Gu family actually secretly cultivated an ancient tree of enlightenment. Amazing. Dandan grinned inside, his eyes shining. Unfortunately, after countless years of cultivation, it still hasn't fully matured. Gu Xinghui sighed. It's already not bad to be able to cultivate it to 1,000 meters tall. I also had one back then, but unfortunately, it wasn't mature either. It was destroyed in the later battle. As he said that, he glanced at Lu Ming. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. His tree of enlightenment was cultivated from a dead branch, and that branch appeared together with Dandan back then. Could it be that Dandan's tree of enlightenment was the same one? That was very likely. You can cultivate here from now on. Gu Xinghui said. Huh, good, good. Lu Ming, this is the most suitable place for your current stage. Dandan said to Lu Ming. Lu Ming nodded. Indeed. Chapter 22-29. The Gu family's enlightenment ancient tree was already 1,000 meters tall. Its effect was much better than his own enlightenment ancient tree. It was the most suitable place to comprehend the laws. You guys can cultivate here. If you need anything, just send me a message. Gu Xinghui left behind a message and a voice transmission jade talisman. His figure moved and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two headed towards the enlightenment ancient tree. As they approached, they found a few people sitting cross-legged under the enlightenment ancient tree, cultivating. Obviously, they were the Gu family's people. Lu Ming also finally understood why Guingzhong could control 4 types of laws at such a young age. He had even reached the second level of 2 of them. It was definitely related to the enlightenment ancient tree. When the 3 of them arrived, someone from the Gu family sensed them and opened his eyes to look at Lu Ming and the other 2. He was surprised. This was because he did not know Lu Ming and the other 2 at all. However, he was only surprised and did not say anything. This was because this was the Gu family's secret place. Without the Gu family's higher-ups leading the way, no one would be able to find it. Obviously, Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulans were able to enter because the higher-ups of the Gu family had brought them here. Since it was the higher-ups of the Gu family who brought them here, he naturally would not say anything. He nodded to Lu Ming and the other 2 and closed his eyes to continue cultivating. The 2 of you can cultivate here. I'm going to find a place to go into seclusion and break through to the true Emperor realm. Dandan said. I hope you break through soon. Otherwise, when I become an emperor, I'll catch up to you very quickly. Lu Ming laughed. Dream on, you want to catch up to me? Dandan curled his lips unhappily, then his figure flashed and disappeared into the distance in an instant. Lu Ming and Mullins came under the Enlightenment ancient tree. They each found a piece of green stone and sat cross-legged on it. The Enlightenment ancient tree was 1,000 meters tall and was incomparably huge. Between the branches and leaves, there were grand daos. Whether it was comprehending laws or divine abilities, it was very useful here. To comprehend 9 types of laws, 3 supreme laws and 6 monarch Tao laws, I'm still lacking 1 supreme law and 1 monarch Tao law. Which 2 should I comprehend? Lu Ming pondered. If it's monarch Tao law, why don't I comprehend the penetration law? Lu Ming's heart moved. The law of penetration and the power of penetration were extremely shocking. If one could comprehend it, one's attack power would increase by a lot. Furthermore, the 6-feathered divine wings that Dandan imparted to Lu Ming contained 6 types of laws. Apart from the law of array, alchemy, and weapons, the law of penetration was also one of them. After comprehending the law of penetration, the power of the 6-feathered divine wings would increase explosively. After deciding on the monarch Tao law, it was time to decide which supreme law to comprehend. Of the remaining 8 supreme laws, Lu Ming was most optimistic about the destiny law. Because the destiny law was indeed mysterious and powerful. However, the destiny law had a high requirement of talent. It was also the most difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming thought for a while, then shook his head and eliminated the destiny law. Now that I have the chaos law and death law, I'm not weak in terms of offense. The next law doesn't necessarily have to increase my offense. Increasing my defense or vitality is also very important. Then, the life law. In the end, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law. Xiang had the life body, so Lu Ming was more familiar with the life law. Moreover, once one grasped the life law, their vitality would become astonishing. Even if they suffered some fatal injuries, they would be able to recover quickly. This would greatly increase their ability to survive. For the next 2 laws, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law and the penetration law. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming's mind became empty. His mind merged with heaven and earth as he captured the fluctuations of the laws. Penetration, penetrate everything, nothing can stop it, Lu Ming murmured and understood something. As Lu Ming comprehended more and more laws, he had more experience in comprehending laws. Hence, he became more and more efficient in comprehending laws. In just a few days, the penetration law had reached the entry level. Half a month later, Lu Ming successfully comprehended the life law and reached the entry level. In this way, he had already grasped 9 types of laws. What he needed to do now was to increase the maturity of the laws. The alchemy law, tools law, penetration law, and life law. Now, Lu Ming still had 4 types of laws that had not reached the first level of perfection. However, the alchemy law and tools law were already about 90% mature. Lu Ming wholeheartedly comprehended the 4 types of laws. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day, thunder rumbled in the distance. Lu Ming, who was cultivating, and the people of the Gu family all opened their eyes. Someone has become an emperor and is going through the emperor tribulation. Someone from the Gu family whispered. Senior sister Mullins is going to become an emperor. Lu Ming smiled. Mullins had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert. The process of inheritance lasted for 5 years. In these 5 years, Mullins's cultivation soared to the limit of the boundary emperor before stopping. Mullins was originally just a hair away from becoming an emperor. Now, after more than half a year of accumulation and polishing, Mullins finally crossed the bottleneck and became an emperor. Lu Ming took a step forward and came to a place not far from Mullins. Mullins's body was covered in a layer of blood light, which turned into attacks to resist the heavenly tribulation. It seemed that Mullins was still quite relaxed. Not long after, Mullins successfully passed the heavenly tribulation. Boom! At this moment, a shocking change occurred in Mullins's body. It was the evolution of the sacred heart. The sacred energy turned into the power of the world. A faint emperor's aura was emitted from Mulan's body. Half an hour later, Mulan's aura stabilized and she officially entered the martial emperor realm. Senior sister, congratulations on confirming your Dao and becoming an emperor. Lu Ming stepped forward and congratulated Lu Ming. Mulan's looked at Lu Ming with joy on her face. She said, I believe that junior brother will become an emperor soon. Little girl, not bad. You became an emperor so quickly. It seems that you are really suitable for Xue Xiu's cultivation path. A voice was heard. Then, with a flash of light, Dandan's figure appeared. Dandan, you also broke through? Lu Ming looked at Dandan and asked curiously. Of course. What kind of existence am I? A mere true emperor is nothing. I will soon break through to the great emperor realm, then the heavenly emperor realm. Finally, I will surpass the past and break through to the supreme realm. Ha ha ha. Dandan laughed proudly, as if he was thinking of a beautiful future. His eyes were shining. This guy, Lu Ming despised him, but he was also happy for him. Dandan laughed for a while and said, Lu Ming, come, come. Let's spar and see how you have comprehended the laws during this period. You are now a true emperor. If I spar with you, won't I be abused? Lu Ming curled his lips and immediately refused. Chapter 22:30. Ha ha ha, I know you're afraid of me. However, I won't use the power of the world. I'll just spar with you using the laws. Why are you still afraid? Dandan grinned and looked at Lu Ming from the corner of his eyes. Lu Ming was unhappy and said, Come on, let's go. Let's spar a little further away. After they flew a distance away, they began to fight. Dandan did not use his cultivation to suppress Lu Ming. He only used a little bit of the power of the world to activate the laws and fought with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was defeated by Dandan in one move. This made Lu Ming speechless. Was the difference so big? Although Dandan also controlled 9 types of laws, he also controlled 9 types of laws. However, after colliding with Dandan's laws, his laws were completely vulnerable. Lu Ming, although you control a lot of laws, it's only the most superficial fusion. You don't have an ancient scripture to fully unleash the power of these laws. Therefore, the power is too weak. Dandan said. It's a pity that I don't have an ancient scripture. Lu Ming also had a bitter face. Although he created the Hammer of Chaos and the Sword of Death, he had only created them recently and was far from reaching the major completion. Their power was limited. Those ancient scriptures were not created by others. Those who created the ancient scriptures also created those ancient scriptures according to the laws they controlled. Right now, you're just inexperienced. You can't fully unleash the magical powers you created. If you can fully unleash the laws you control, the power will definitely be stronger than many ancient scriptures. After all, you created them yourself. Dandan explained. Dandan, since you're so experienced, why don't you teach me? Lu Ming smiled and looked at Dandan. Now you know how powerful I am. Don't worry, I want to spar with you because I want to guide you. Come again, use your full strength. Dandan laughed loudly. He was very pleased with himself. With one hand behind his back, he had the demeanor of a peerless expert. This time, Lu Ming didn't make things difficult for Dandan. After all, he had a favor to ask. Whoosh! Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and the Hammer of Primal Chaos appeared in his hand, and he smashed it toward Dandan. Dandan pointed out and at least 5 types of laws exploded out, forming a finger energy that slammed into the Primal Chaos Hammer. The Primal Chaos Hammer violently trembled before exploding. Lu Ming's Hammer of Primal Chaos also contained 5 types of nomological laws, but they were like tofu. On the other hand, Danden's 5 types of nomological laws were like steel, as they immediately defeated Lu Ming's hammer of primal chaos. Again. Lu Ming then charged towards Danden, resisting with his laws. But every time, Lu Ming was completely defeated. A day later, Lu Ming was already exhausted. He then stopped. But in this battle, Lu Ming had gained a lot. He was more proficient in the use of the nomological laws. When he used the hammer of primal chaos or the sword of death, the various nomological laws complemented each other, and the explosive power also increased. Danden, although bragging every day and sometimes unreliable, was really experienced. Moreover, the World Divine Turtle was known as the World. Its innate control of the nomological laws was unparalleled, and it was stronger than the other top 10 battle beasts. Therefore, it could often point out Lu Ming's shortcomings in the use of the nomological laws, allowing Lu Ming to improve rapidly. Go back and digest it well. We'll continue the competition in 7 days. Danden grinned and went to enlightenment. The few of them returned to the enlightenment ancient tree and continued to cultivate. Mullins had been watching Lu Ming and Danden fight before. She had gained a lot and needed to digest it. In the following days, Lu Ming had one more thing to do, and that was to fight with Danden. Every 7 days, he would fight with Danden. His comprehension of the various nomological laws and the use of the nomological laws were improving by leaps and bounds. The mastery of the 4 nomological laws of alchemy, tools, penetration, and life increased very quickly. After all, this was under the enlightenment ancient tree. Coupled with Lu Ming's own talent, it was difficult not to improve. At the same time, Lu Ming's 2 self-created supernatural powers, the hammer of primal chaos and the sword of death, were getting stronger and stronger. Not only was the original use of the nomological laws, but also the penetration nomological laws. One supernatural power contained 7 nomological laws, and its power was constantly increasing. Finally, after Lu Ming cultivated here for a year, he had another nomological law that reached perfection. Alchemy nomological laws. The alchemy nomological laws reached perfection, and the nomological laws formed a river. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power were tempered again, and greatly improved. Without a doubt, Lu Ming's combat strength was also increasing rapidly. After cultivating here for a year and a half, Lu Ming's tools' nomological laws had also reached perfection. Until now, Lu Ming still had the penetration nomological laws and life nomological laws that had not reached perfection in the first realm. The life nomological law was an ultimate nomological law, and relatively speaking, the speed of improvement was much slower. Far away from the enlightenment ancient tree, on a flat ground, Lu Ming and Danden continued to fight. Although Lu Ming's strength was increasing rapidly, Danden's improvement was even faster. Lu Ming felt that the 9 nomological laws that Danden controlled had probably reached the second realm. Lu Ming was naturally no match for him. The 2 of them exchanged a blow, and Lu Ming retreated. Unfortunately, my ultimate nomological laws can't be merged together. Lu Ming sighed. Whether it was the hammer of chaos or the sword of death, they both only contained one ultimate nomological law. If other ultimate nomological laws could be merged, the power would probably skyrocket. However, if ultimate nomological laws could not be merged, it would be too difficult to merge them. Not necessarily. Danden said, it said that it's impossible for one person to control 2 ultimate nomological laws, but didn't you do it? Since you can control multiple ultimate nomological laws, you can naturally merge them into one supernatural power. Speaking of which, Lu Ming, your path is completely different from others. You cultivated the ancient scriptures created by others, but it can't fully stimulate your potential. Other people's ancient scriptures have a single ultimate nomological law as the core, but you control multiple ultimate nomological laws. If you want to fully stimulate your potential, you need to create your own. Dandan was rarely serious as he seriously guided Lu Ming. Lu Ming was greatly moved. Indeed, those peerless heroes who created various ancient scriptures did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws. At most, they controlled one ultimate nomological law and then combined it with other monarch nomological laws and ordinary nomological laws to create it. None of them were suitable for Lu Ming. If Lu Ming wanted to tap into his full potential, he had to create his own ancient scriptures and supernatural powers. Lu Ming felt suddenly enlightened. He felt that he could see his future path. Dandan, thank you. Lu Ming thanked Dandan very seriously. Ha ha ha, who am I? The leader of the top 10 battle beasts, an invincible peerless genius. Do you believe me now? Dandan grinned and laughed, feeling very comfortable and happy. Come, continue. Let me guide you so that you can merge ultimate nomological laws as soon as possible. Dandan shouted, full of enthusiasm. Although Dandan did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws, his experience was there, and it was very helpful to Lu Ming. However, it was too difficult to merge different ultimate nomological laws into one supernatural power. Chapter 22:31. Winter passed and spring came. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been cultivating here for 3 years. After 3 years of hard work, his law of penetration had reached the first level of perfection. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power had become stronger after repeated refinements. His physical strength was incomparably strong, and his saint power was condensed to the extreme. Moreover, his application of the law had become stronger, and the power of his self-created divine powers had increased by a lot. Compared to 3 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, his law of life was still a little short and had not reached perfection. It was still at the 99% stage. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. It was indeed a little slow to improve his ultimate law, and this was still cultivating under the ancient tree of enlightenment. If it were in the outside world, it would be impossible to cultivate so many laws to the first level of perfection in 3 years. On the same flat ground, Lu Ming and Dandan were still fighting. Swoosh! Swoosh! Lu Ming held the sword of death in his hand and slashed out continuously. Its power was extremely shocking. However, Dandan was relaxed. With a casual wave of his hand, various laws circulated and easily blocked Lu Ming's attack. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's eyes were firm and persistent. He was trying to integrate the law of chaos into the sword of death. Just a little bit more, merge for me. Suddenly, Lu Ming roared. The law of death in his body surged. The sword of death in his hand vibrated constantly, and the sword's roar shook the sky. Buzz! Suddenly, the power of the sword of death skyrocketed, and a terrifying sword light slashed at Dandan. This sword not only contained the power of the law of death, but also the heavy power of the law of chaos. Success! Lu Ming was ecstatic. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's body trembled. He felt a terrifying tearing force from the 2 ultimate laws. His palm was about to be torn apart by this tearing force. Nestle! On the opposite side, Dandan shouted. With a shake of his palm, a tortoise shell appeared and blocked in front of him like a shield. Boom! With a violent explosion, Dandan's tortoiseshell shield exploded. Dandan quickly retreated, avoiding the tip of the sword of death. Kid, you've succeeded? Dandan looked at Lu Ming. The sword of death in Lu Ming's hand disappeared. His palms and arms were covered in cracks, blood seeping out from them. Circulating the law of life, the wound on his arm quickly healed. Unfortunately, the 2 types of laws will still clash and erupt with astonishing power, causing me to be injured. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. That's normal. You've just started the fusion and aren't familiar with it yet. However, this proves that we're on the right track. As long as you keep trying, the side effects will disappear. Ha ha ha, we've created history. If this were to spread, I'm afraid it would scare people to death. Dandan was extremely excited. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. He understood that after such a long period of hard work, he had finally succeeded. Although the fusion of two types of supreme laws would cause him to be injured, it was still incomplete. As it continued to be perfected in the future, these side effects would definitely disappear. Under the effect of the law of life, the wound on Lu Ming's arm had completely healed. Dandan, again. Lu Ming rushed towards Dandan. Where could he find such a good sparring partner? Boom! The sword of death reappeared in Lu Ming's hand. Immediately, the law of primal chaos erupted and merged with the sword of death. Buzz! This time, he immediately succeeded. However, the fusion still clashed and a terrifying power erupted, causing Lu Ming's arm to be covered in wounds. However, the power of this sword strike had reached an astonishing level. Dandan needed to focus her attention in order to block it. This could be considered Lu Ming's strongest killing move. If I integrate the law of life in the future, the power will definitely be stronger. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming was about to continue looking for Dandan when a figure flashed and a white-haired old man appeared. It was Gu Xinghui. This was the first time Gu Xinghui had appeared in 3 years. Little brother Lu Ming, it seems that you have made great progress in these years. Gu Xinghui smiled. Senior, thank you for bringing me here to cultivate. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have to cultivate for a few more years to achieve my current achievements. Lu Ming said. Kid, why are you here today? Dandan walked over and said casually. Of course, there's something big. Gu Xinghui said. Something big? What's the big deal? Dandan asked curiously. Mount Eternal has appeared. It is said that the indestructible ancient scripture is hidden in Mount Eternal. Gu Xinghui said. What? Dandan almost jumped up. His eyes lit up as he stared at Gu Xinghui and said, Is that true? It's true. Mount Eternal has appeared in the void and is now hovering above Alcade Ancient City. Now, countless experts from the Taiching Celestial Domain are rushing over to get the indestructible ancient scripture. So, I'm here to ask if you want to go. Gu Xinghui said. Of course, we're going. We can't miss the indestructible ancient scripture of the indestructible emperor. Dandan's eyes lit up. By the side, Lu Ming and Mulan were somewhat dumbstruck. They had never heard of Mount Eternal or the indestructible ancient scripture. Is the indestructible ancient scripture that magical? Lu Ming asked. Of course. It is said that those who cultivate the indestructible ancient scripture will be immortal and have extremely strong vitality. Even a trace of blood, a strand of hair, or a trace of soul can be recovered. Although the law of life has strong vitality, it is far inferior to cultivating the indestructible ancient scripture. The indestructible ancient scripture is the trump card of the indestructible emperor. Do you know about the emperor? He is an existence on par with the Chaos Emperor. Dandan rattled on, explaining a bunch of things. Lu Ming was shocked. He was shocked by the incredible power of the indestructible ancient scripture and the strength of the indestructible emperor. According to Dandan, those who could be called venerable sovereigns were all invincible figures. They were known as venerable sovereigns and were invincible in the world. For example, the Chaos Emperor and the Indestructible Emperor. If the Indestructible Emperor is so strong, how can he be so strong? Then how can others get the indestructible ancient scripture? Won't we be courting death if we go? Lu Ming asked curiously. The indestructible emperor died a long time ago. Dandan said. Died? How can such a person who cultivated the indestructible ancient scripture die? Lu Ming was shocked and puzzled. Sigh, it's all because of the evil god tribe. In the ancient era, at the beginning of the war, the indestructible emperor was besieged by several people of the evil god tribe. In the end, nothing was left of him. Even if he had the indestructible ancient scripture, he still died. Since the fall of the indestructible emperor, Mount Eternal, where he lived, escaped into the endless void and wandered in the eternal darkness of the void. No one could find it. I really didn't expect Mount Eternal to suddenly appear. Many people guess that the indestructible ancient scripture is about to reappear. Gu Xinghui sighed. Lu Ming was also interested. Okay, let's go and take a look. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.